Yo, what is up? DPS podcast, that's Damage Per Second podcast, episode 217. We are back on a Thursday night, feeling all right, a little late. I apologize for that. That's on me. I own it. That was not Forte this time. That was all slow-mo. I was moving in slow-mo and I got here late. I apologize. But we're going to have a great show tonight. We're going to have an awesome time. Shout out to the chat. See you guys there. Shout out to Mitchie Dies Alive. Mitchie lost a pet today. Saw it on the Twitter timeline. Sorry for your loss, Mitchie. I know people love their pets. And I've been there before, losing one, just like losing a family member. I personally couldn't do another pet after that. So I get it, certainly. And I hope the show lifts your spirits if we can. And the other voice you heard there for a moment, of course, is my co-host, Mr. Gaming Forte. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Sorry to hear that, Mitchie, man. That sucks. My dog of 15, 16 years, he passed away 3 years ago, and we literally just got to the point where my wife was, to the point where she was like, yeah, I kind of want another four-legged animal to run around the house again. It takes a while.
But it took a while. It took
a while. Could have just, we got pictures all over the house of him and stuff because, he like you said, he's part of the family. And literally he was here when all my kids were, when my second kid was born, her whole life. So yeah, it's rough, man. So hopefully you're doing good, and hopefully this show does some good for you today too. But outside of that, man, no, everything's been good, man. Just been, working, haven't been really doing too much of anything else. That's kind of been we
ain't played no we ain't shot no faces in a little while, man.
I ain't turned. Man, it's been rough.
I've been going off, man. I've been acting a fool out here.
I saw your thing saying you were almost at your goal of 2.0 KD for the prestige you were on.
Yeah, I'm almost there. I'm like a 0.02 away. I haven't played since I sent you that, so it's like it ain't moved yet. But I don't know. Maybe I'll play tonight. Maybe I'll play tomorrow, sometime this weekend. Get it over there. It's just a little personal thing, I like to be able to say. I like to be able to say, this old man can still have a 2.0 KD and with these young, quick twitch, whippersnappers out here. I can still do some things, So
So if you want to really know how bad or how good your reactions are, there's a game that's on on Windows. Go into the Google browser and just Google snake and do that it's called Snake, and it's a mini game, and you just are a snake that you gotta maneuver him around the little square box you have, and there's like an apple on the screen, and you have to have him eat the apple, and as you eat the apple he gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but you can't run into yourself and you can't run into walls, and you can only use either the arrow keys or AWS to move your character.
This sounds like something that would have me frustrated at how bad I am,
bro. So my daughter, she like literally earlier today, she was like, Google snake. I was like, what the hell is this? She said, play that. I want to see how bad your reaction speed is. So I'm like,
didn't even give you the benefit of the doubt. You didn't even be like, hey, you might do good at this. I want to see you suffer.
She wants to see me suffer. I'm sitting there like, I got the highest I got was 8 points. She up in the 50s.
Wow.
So every time you eat an apple,
shout out to your daughter.
Yeah, she up there like I'm just watching the keyboard go click 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 click, like she doing massive moves with the keyboard with the keyboard. I'm like, yeah, this is how bad I am. Like just reacting, like little things, just hitting, not wanting to hit the wall or coming up short of hitting the wall to like grab an apple that's right on the wall. It's like I don't want to hit the wall. I don't want to hit the wall. It's actually fun, but it does help you. It's probably a good way to warm up, especially if you're a person that plays keyboard and mouse. it's probably one of those games that's really good to warm up on when it comes to like just your moving and aiming and stuff like that. I think would be good
if you before you play any competitive game, I think you should warm up, have a routine, something that you're comfortable with, that once you do it for like, a good 10 minutes, you're ready to go. You're all warmed up. You're ready to play whatever game that you play competitively, or, somewhat casual competitive, it depends. But I think that's a good idea. If you haven't tried it yet and you're a mouse and keyboard player, I think that's something definitely to rock with. Yeah. But you said you haven't really been playing any games over the past week?
No, dude, no. Like literally every like I was supposed, I'm normally off work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. This is my first day off this week because we had inventories at a store this week, and then I had a landlord walk through at one of my stores that I had to go up on my off day. And then what happens when you go up to your job on your off day? You end up being there.
You end up doing stuff.
So I ended up spending almost a whole day doing that stuff. So my Tuesday and Wednesday went out the window because of those two things. So today I was literally the first day I was off, and I literally didn't get home from the inventory until about 1:30 in the morning. And I had to get up and take my daughter to school. So I got up at like 7:30 to do that. I normally don't go right back to sleep, but since I didn't have to work today, I went back to sleep, and I didn't wake up until maybe 2:15 to go pick my daughter up from school. And then I came back home, laid back down, and officially didn't get out the bed until, guess what? An hour and 30 minutes ago. Literally around 6:45 is when I officially got up for the day. So outside of playing like NCAA football, like over the course of the week, like just playing a game here, a game there, I'm doing my Mass Effect game playthrough on PC.
Okay. How far are you?
I started from the beginning, so I just left the Citadel on PC. Okay. So I'm on Mass Effect 1, so I'm going. So
don't you love how they did skill points for leveling up this time? Yeah, because they give you so many skill points to kind of make up for not. It's some of the content's missing, So it's like they kind of want to like just help you get to max level quicker, and so you level up, and Shepard gets like 4 skill points. To put into wherever you want to put it into, and then your other characters get like 2. They kind of doubled it. I think that was a good idea. I liked it. I'll tell you where I'm at when you're done. When this my turn to talk about what I'm playing. But go ahead.
No, yeah. I'm going through that again because I never went through it on PC, and I was like, got Game Pass. It's in EA Play. Let's get this going. 40-90 for the win. So I was like, okay, yeah. So I'm playing that, and it's definitely more enjoyable playing it at ridiculous frame rates and ridiculous fidelity, and then kind of makes you forget how bad that game was when it first came out a long time ago. But
it wasn't a bad game.
No,
it was just
none of them. Well, you know what it is.
It didn't age well.
But this is what I say. This is what I tell people. It's not a bad game because I don't think there's a. Like when it comes to like Star Wars, I always tell people like people say the first, like not the first 3, the prequels are terrible. I was like, no, they're not terrible. They're good Star Wars. They're good movies. They're just bad Star Wars movies. That's what this is. Mass Effect 1 is not a bad it's not a bad game. It's just a bad Mass Effect game based on what 2 and 3 is. It's like when you get to 2 and 3, you're like, what happened? What did you do?
No. Andromeda. No, Andromeda's a bad game, but it's also
it's a bad game. It's the best playing Mass Effect game though.
As far as combat go, but that's all it has.
But that almost matters. That's like 50-50 when you're talking about the story and the gameplay. It's like married to each other. It's just that for people that play Mass Effect, the story kind of weighs more. because you're so invested over 3 games. So when you get to this one, the gameplay is kind of a secondary thing because you know it's going to have good gameplay because all the Mass Effects had good gameplay. But the story has always been pretty good. Even in the first Mass Effect, the story is freaking incredible going after Saren and stuff. Yeah. But it's like it falls flat when it came to the gameplay in the system because it was like real janky. It wasn't that it was bad gameplay, it was just real janky. They refined that.
A lot of this also is preference because there are some people that actually preferred all of the loot you got, and even though it was too much, in my opinion, but all the loot that you got in Mass Effect 1, people prefer that over. People feel like they went too far in the opposite direction with Mass Effect 2, where it's like you got almost basically no loot. Oh yeah, like the RPG-ness of your gear and your loadout isn't quite there. It's more along the lines of what your skill tree is. Your skill tree, but your build and how you set up your character and Shepard, you know.
Sentinel, baby. Sentinel.
Oh, I've always went Vanguard.
Oh, you want to get up and close to
that charge. Yeah, man. That charge. Oh man. I was nasty with it.
That was a really good build.
You guys will see when I stream it, because if you're done, I'll get started on what I've been doing.
I'm good. What you been doing? What you doing?
So I actually beat Avowed for a second time.
Oh my god. Yeah, you really like this game.
No, see that. Yeah, see. You would think so.
It's all about time. If you're willing to invest time. Now, was this both on PC or did you like go to console and do this?
No, definitely both on PC. I tried it out on Xbox, and that was a very short-lived experience. I went right back to PC.
Couldn't deal with that 45 frames per second, huh? I guess.
Not for me. The second playthrough, this was more of. And I kind of streamlined it because, I mean, I still did a lot of the side content. I just knew where to go and how to handle things. And plus, like, I'm playing, like, my build was different this time around. So I did a couple of things differently. I did a sword and shield fighter that my build is just ridiculous. It was way easier in all fights compared to the mage, the long range mage build I did for the previous playthrough. Plus, you know, once I really kind of like the experience of playing through the game near the end of my first playthrough, I had an idea of how to approach every battle where it was just like, I'm just going to win, period. And it's just, the more prolonged fights you have in Avowed is usually due to you not paying attention to the kind of enemies that you're fighting.
Yes.
When you hitting somebody and their health is going down, then their health is steadily going up as you're taking chunks out of it. Like, I immediately just know there's a priest somewhere. Let me go find the priest and kill him because he's healing everybody, and you need to, or your fight's going to take a very, very long time, or you're probably going to die and run out of your companions. Your companions are not very smart. The companion AI is not great. And you typically need to kind of micromanage them if you really care for them to be effective for you. I just basically ignored them, and every now and then I would revive them when I'm being overwhelmed with enemies and they're not there to at least be a distraction. But no, I my second playthrough, I probably may have ran through it in like 20 hours simply because. And it wasn't me just only doing the main quest stuff. I did a lot of the side quests. I did all the bounties. I did all of the companion quests. It's just I knew where to go, what to do, and I did probably skip a lot of the dialogue because the story it's not Obsidian's best on the story. But what also helped is that like my build is ridiculous, and I was just slaughtering everything left and right. But I did do that. Uninstalled the game now. It's not like I know a lot of other people, if they play through a game a second time, for them, it's because they love the game. For me, I will do it out of curiosity and experimentation. Like story choices, I was doing the opposite of everything I did in the first game. I was being a dick to everybody. I was all about, like, hey, I'm the envoy for the Adir Empire, and that's all I'm here to do. I don't care about nothing else y'all want. I don't care about these people. I'm out here subjugating the population. And it's just, that was somewhat funny to do, but it's really just, for me, it was just seeing how different the choices are. And in some cases they are different, and in some cases they really is like the illusion of choice, and not really like a meaningful, impactful decision that you have to make. It may appear like that on the surface, but then if you run through the game again, you do a different choice, you just realize it's the same. It's going to come to the same conclusion, So I did that. And I, as you know, playing more Call of Duty. I'm closing in on Prestige 8. I think I'm like at level like 40, I think.
Yeah, that's what it looked like it was said on your screen when you were there.
Yeah, yeah, I've been bodying everything and right now over this, and I don't know what it is. I don't know, maybe I'm just in a zone with it right now. I don't think I ever played bad, but I'm playing really good now. And I don't like the new gun, so like I'm trying to get to the battle pass before it's over, and I feel like I'm behind. And I just got the SMG not too long ago. It's like the PPSH one. I don't know what it's called. It's. I in the gameplay I showed earlier, that's the gun I was using, and I don't like the gun at all. I think for part of the reason why I am doing so well with this Prestige compared to the previous ones, in the previous ones I was still leveling up guns that I don't like and I'm not quite comfortable with, just to kind of make sure that I can get the diamond camo. Once I got diamond camos, I went to just basically using, for the most part, the very best guns, like not necessarily the meta guns, but the guns I definitely got like really good attachments for them. The gun is really kind of like perfectly balanced. Yeah, I've been using the majority of those for the majority of this Prestige, and just really now got into using the PPSH. And so, yeah, that's been most of the reason why I've been like, murdering everything. But excuse me. I don't really care for that gun. I want to just get the gold on it, maybe get the diamond, and then move on. Hopefully by that time, out the assault rifle. I forgot the name of that one. I would have unlocked that one by then, and then I can level that one up. But so I did that. I actually reinstalled the first Descendant, not because it's a topic for tonight, but I had, I just had a thought to play it again earlier this week, and it's still boring, man. It's just a boring game. Like, I can't play it for longer than 30 minutes. And I reinstalled it, and then I told myself, you know what? Let me try to min max, because I got, they're giving away so much stuff now. I figured, they basically gave away the ultimate bunny. And I said, let me just min max the ultimate bunny, come up with a build that works for it, and do that. And I just don't have the ability to do it, man. I just don't. I play for like 30 minutes, and then, all right, that's it. I'm gonna play something else because I'm bored. And so, yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna keep that installed, but I am still playing Marvel Rivals and Fortnite, and then Dragon Age Veilguard is on PS Plus for PS5, and I actually played a little bit of that and created a dope looking character. I'm doing mage build again. And of course, like with Mass Effect 1, I am on what is the name of that place? The area with the alien that has the people kind of brainwashed.
Oh yeah, what's the name? I can't remember.
Yeah, so I'm at that area, and yeah, so that's like maybe like the second planet you go to. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm not trying to speed run through it. I'm enjoying myself, but I want to get the Mass Effect 2. I want to get to the GOAT. But that's about it. That's about it. Anything you want to say before we?
Nah, man, I'm good.
Get into these rapid fire topics.
Been a typical week. I'm just waiting for Monster Hunter Wilds to get patched on PC and start sucking so I can play it.
Yeah, you might be waiting for a while.
Oh,
Capcom is not great at optimization on PC, but let's start these rapid fire topics real quick. What do we have here? Hazelight Studios has dropped Split Fiction. I think it came out today.
Yep, today.
Split Fiction is got over a 90 Metacritic score on Metacritic, which is pretty awesome. This is like the third game in a row that Hazelight Studios has dropped that has had a lot of critical praise for the game. And so I guess my question to you, Forte, is can we now consider Hazelight Studios like, you know, like they really kind of like no one really thinks or talks about them. They just kind of look at them as just an indie dev, even though they have more resources than typical indie developers.
And they haven't missed on a game yet.
And they haven't missed on any game. So can we start to kind of consider Joseph Fares and his studio to be, you know, somewhat elite? Like, should we start considering them as part of the collection of studios that people just, you don't question the level of quality. You just, when they say, like when Joseph Fares comes out at the Video Game Awards and starts, you know, cussing like crazy and then announces his next game, is it now that you just go, oh, it's going to be fire? Like you don't even question it. Like it's one of those studios where you just don't question the level of quality of their games without even seeing it because of their track record. Is that them now?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been at that moment for quite some time already. It just really just
comes back.
Yeah, I just think it really comes down to the fact that a lot of people, maybe because of the fact they just, you know, so many people aren't used to like the co-op aspect of playing games the way that those games are created. I think it's been like that for a while. It's like ever since It Takes Two came out, I think they kind of been one of those games that I always recommend to people. Is like when people are asking for games like that, I'm like, yo, well, It Takes Two, or you know, or Two Brothers or something. And everybody I say, when is he gonna come out with another game that's gonna like, you know, be something that people are looking forward to? And I think that's kind of where we are now when it comes to that. So he makes a particular type of game that is really, really big that people really, really enjoy. And
it's always a co-op experience. And I like the fact that they go so far to remove any barriers of you not being able to play the game. Like I'm getting Split Fiction. I'm really interested in this one. I don't know who I'm gonna play it with. But I'm gonna get this one. And I like that they even this time the whole friend code thing has gone cross-platform. So if I buy it on PC, I can extend a friend code and someone can install it and play it with me on PlayStation, on Xbox. You know, I think I think that they have a level of commitment there that's really to make sure that there are no barriers to enjoying their game that's rarely seen. And typically I would say that kind of design and business choice there would scare a publisher away. Most publishers would be like, yeah, I ain't doing that. I'm not going to allow someone else to enjoy the game and they didn't play it. But it's like, you literally can't play this game without someone else, which I think might be why Joseph Fares said that their next game might be different from the typical format, which I think is always the logical step for a studio that has really perfected their craft, is that they decide to start doing something that's a little bit out of the wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Okay. Ramon says he got me. All right, I'm gonna play Split Fiction with you, Ramon. I'll buy it tomorrow. You know, we'll figure out what's the best time to play it. But yeah, like take for example, Respawn. Really good at making first-person shooters. They started making Jedi, Star Wars, Fallen Order, and Survivor games. Right now, with Playground Games making Fable, when they were basically perfected their craft with arcade racers with Forza Horizon, and I just think that at some point in time, you gotta instead to make sure that you don't start losing quality talent because they're getting bored of doing the same thing over and over again, that you need to kind of step out of your comfort zone and do something a little different. So hopefully that's the case. Well, we'll see what happens though. Anything else you want to say on this before we move?
Man. That's good.
Cool. There's a rumor out right now.
Rumors.
And this rumor is claiming that the next Call of Duty that comes out later this year is going to be Modern Warfare 4.
Yep.
And it also is saying that it's only in, this is the most, I think probably the most interesting part, that it's only in development on current gen consoles.
Yep.
So it's not going to be on last gen, that it is using the current gen Xbox dev kits, that it's going to go back to a more traditional UI, which I think will probably be preferable for a lot of people. I know a lot of people just can't stand the way the current UI is in the past 3 Call of Duties, and that they're doing a big update to the Call of Duty, the Call of Duty game engine, and Warzone actually may not be supported in this game. That they may be doing a further separation of Warzone away from the annual Call of Duty releases, with Warzone potentially if I forgot the name, how you pronounce this map, the Verdansk map doesn't do well when that comes out soon. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I have some thoughts on it. I'll Forte, let you go first before I kind of start asking some interesting questions. What do you think about this?
I think it's time for them to start moving forward with the story. And granted, if you haven't played any of the because some people don't play Call of Duty for the single players, a lot of people play it for the multiplayer, and I get that. But from a story standpoint, I think they kind of need to move forward when it comes to that, because they've been treading, old territory for literally like the last 5-6 years, going back to, well, not the whole story, but going back, they redid Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, they redid Modern Warfare 2, and then, we got 2, then 3, Modern Warfare 3 was just a update to Modern Warfare 2 from the year before, and then we got Black Ops 6, which was moving forward from what we had with the last Call of Duty Cold War. So I think moving forward with the modern side of it, because that's what Modern Warfare is, the modern side of Call of Duty, where you get modern weapons and everything like that. Even though Black Ops is kind of caught up to that now due to the fact that they're so far from the Cold War aspect of it. I think that is a really, really good move for that. Now, when it comes to Warzone not being compatible, that's interesting. I didn't know how well it, I know a lot of more people still play Warzone than play base Call of Duty multiplayer. But what is the thing that's happening with Warzone where this wouldn't be, something that they would make sure works, with Modern Warfare 4? That I don't know, and that's kind of, I'm not going to say it's kind of like it's a good or bad thing because I don't play Warzone. I couldn't tell you one thing about Warzone, but for the most part, it seems like a lot of people, would that just leave a lot of people out, or would that be something that is still stuck on last gen? Is that what they're kind of meaning? Because maybe they're saying that Warzone.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. Like they say they can't have two maps at once,
right?
Because the last gen consoles, the hardware isn't capable of supporting both maps at the same time.
So what they're basically so if I read between the lines, they're basically saying if this new map doesn't do well, that means they're not going to make the effort to put it on next gen, and they're just going to leave it on last gen so that you can just play Warzone on last gen. I feel like that's a disservice to everybody that bought the newer systems and they can't play Warzone. So you telling me you got to go back to, you don't have to go back, especially if you're with new gen. You can, Call of Duty is cross when it comes to the game. If you buy it for PlayStation 5, it works on a PS4. But the funny thing is, it only does that if you bought digital. You can't put a PS5 disc in your PS4. You could do the opposite.
I don't think you. Okay, so this is what they're saying.
But Warzone is a digital download anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Warzone is separate, so it doesn't matter. So Warzone will.
We got to download the PS4 version of Warzone, though.
Yeah, but you're probably only going to be able to play, like, you're not going to get any maybe future updates to like the new things that Warzone is doing, or maybe they will have Warzone remain a cross-platform title, where it does get new updates for last gen and current gen. But the new Call of Duty with multiplayer is just, that's only for current gen.
So this is 2026.
So if you think about it, no, this will be this year.
Because the thing I said, it showed 2026.
Let me double check.
It depends it said 20. Yeah, the thing from Charlie Intel said 2026 on it. So I don't know if it's the fact that Call of Duty comes out so close to the end of the year, they consider that 2026 for that game.
You're right. It is 2026. So it's next year. It's next year. Okay.
It's next year.
But, which I think is fine if you think about it. Because as far as we know, Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out this year.
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto 6 is only going to be on current gen consoles at launch. It's not even coming to PC at launch. It's never coming to last gen consoles. Like EA FC Football, when this releases to a larger degree compared to EA FC Football, it's going to sell a lot of hardware. Current gen hardware, as people who typically don't care about having the latest and greatest, they just want to play the game, won't be able to just play the game. They will be, unfortunately, unable to play it unless they go buy new hardware with it, and that's what they're going to do to play GTA 6. So you're going to get people buying Xboxes and PlayStations. When that shift happens, I could see Epic saying next season or the next act. The next act, because Fortnite is no longer on last gen. You're not getting the next act of Fortnite on last gen consoles. You can start seeing a lot of other black hole live service kind of games no longer being supported, because now once GTA 6 comes out, and there are so many more people who were hanging out on last gen simply because they were getting their annual fix or their seasonal fix of whatever game that they play the most, is now only available on current gen. They moved on. Last gen is less relevant because there's less people playing on it. Now it becomes a snowball effect of everybody doing the same thing. So it would make a lot of sense that a year later, the next Call of Duty is in 2026 is only on, current gen consoles, which if I'm Xbox, I hope they figure out their supply stuff by then. Yeah. Because from what we've seen, there likely won't be another Xbox until 2027.
Right.
A new Xbox. That will be a year after this. And so people aren't going to wait for new, especially the kind of people that wouldn't even upgrade to current gen. They're not going to wait for new latest and greatest technology. That's just not what gamers of that who would play on an Xbox One and a PS4 are typically willing to do. They're going to buy the cheapest thing available to get the fix of what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? They just to go back to doing what they've been doing, which is just playing their game and enjoying it. And so that would be like digital PS4s, Xbox Series S's if they can find them. And that's it. You know, they're good. They're good after that. They're not trying to break the bank. They don't want whatever Sarah Bond said about the most greatest advancement in console history or whatever statement she said. They don't care about none of that stuff. Can it run Madden? Can it run 2K?
Right.
That's all I care about. I want 2K26, and I don't have it on my old Xbox or my old PlayStation. Give me that. That's all I want. And so I think that is kind of like where they're going with it. And they probably have been wanted to get rid of last gen because, you know, hardware wise, it's obsolete tech. It's over 12 years old, obsolete tech that it's holding back any kind of innovations they want to do with the games that they're making. And even with, you know, the very little changes that you kind of see in a lot of these games, because they're, you know, live service games, they have either annual releases or they're dropping new content every 3 or 4 months. Like when that is the case, you're not really doing like grand sweeping changes that completely change the game design. But when you do want to do that stuff, you know, you're being handicapped by a piece of hardware that's not capable of doing those things. So it makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, that's all I really got to say about that. Anything else you want to say about
it?
Okay, Forte.
I'm here.
Our buddy's back.
Uh-oh.
Our buddy Randy Pitchford is back in the news again.
Yes, he is.
And you know, it ain't nothing ever good when we talk about Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox that makes Borderlands. And Randy is back in the news yet again. Randy is going after Borderlands content creators who have been faithful to his IP that he's been killing slowly, and yet he's going after them yet again. This happened over the past week. A Borderlands content creator named Mitsu expressed doubt and some light criticisms of Borderlands 4, speaking directly about like the studios seem to be unwilling to listen to the constructive criticism of fans for years, due to the very awful Borderlands movie that had so much insight from Randy Pitchford, who was a consultant on set, yet seemed to allow like the most egregious changes to the story that make no sense whatsoever. It was Borderlands in name. And it's just, I would say the criticisms that he said were somewhat mild. I mean, I could have went harder. I have gone harder. On you know, Randy and Gearbox in the past, but Randy Pitchford wasn't having any of it, and he blocked the guy and said that, you know, he was being toxic.
Yep.
And a bunch of other stuff. And this is the Randy Pitchford play. He did the same thing before Borderlands 3 launched, where he started blocking people, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. He started blocking content creators and getting defensive instead of listening to what they have to say. And so, you know, you're a fellow Borderlands fan.
Yep.
Forte, what are your thoughts about this? And how does this make you feel about Borderlands 4?
I mean, I try to separate Borderlands 4 from all of the tomfoolery that happens with Randy, but it doesn't really help the scenario when a lot of people say the biggest things that was really wrong with the latest Borderlands are just story has been just super lackluster, or just trying to go to the well way too many times with the handsome Jack persona. I just think in general, a lot of people just want a good playing game with a compelling story. And I don't think Randy has kind of delivered that to people over the course of the last couple of games. And then just content creators. I mean, content creators are going to be content creators that you love them when they're championing your game and they're streaming to 15, 16,000 people, going around showing people the latest builds and getting people hyped for all of that free publicity you get. But then when they criticize you, it's completely something different. And sometimes I feel like you got to be able to like take the good when the bad when it comes to that, because everybody's just passionate, passionate about the thing that they love. My Borderlands was like my introduction into like looter type games. Like the reason I fell in Destiny as much as I did wasn't just because of the gameplay and the combat. It was because I was kind of trained over the course of, the previous generation with Borderlands to like chase loot. And when you do that, it gets really addicting. So people's careers got built off of games like that. So people are just super passionate about things like that. So I get it. Like you said, he didn't go really as hard. I mean, he didn't go hard on people, but I also think it's just kind of, very narrow-minded to think that you can just do whatever you want. And granted, you created it, but you still have a duty to the people that play your game to like give them the best thing possible. And when people feel like you're not doing that, you're going to get criticized for it.
Look, when you put something out there, and I'll just keep it a buck, their last 3 games in the series, not good.
Right.
And I'm not talking about numbered games, but I'm talking like,
games in general.
the new Tales from the Borderlands, which is a stupid name. It was probably the worst game that they've created for Borderlands. Tried to do Telltale, it failed. You got Tiny Tina Wonderlands, which I have attempted to beat 3 different times. Could not beat it, not because it's difficult, but because I'm bored and the story sucks and it's not fun. Right. The weapons, for the first time ever in a Borderlands game, the weapons aren't fun. And it really just missed the mark. And Borderlands 3 isn't a bad game. That's what I'm showing on the Jumbotron right now. It is really good with gunplay. Probably the best out of all of them with that, and build diversity and stuff. But you really missed the mark with story. And I'll say this. And by the way, shout out to the Game Logic who's joining us. I'll say this.
Logic.
I'll say this before Logic says anything. Having a awesome antagonist like the handsome Jack has proven to be a double-edged sword for them. Yeah, because it was amazing, and really, like when Borderlands 2 was the hotness, it was a key aspect of why the game was so successful. But then after that, you kind of created this monster that you were never able to get out of his shadow because your next villains just don't live up.
Right.
And they don't compare. And you're doing what like Borderlands 3 follows plot point, point by point, brick by brick, bar by bar of Borderlands 2. And it's just you keep following like Tiny Tina Wonderlands is in a lot of ways basically an expanded version that's not as good as the Tiny Tina DLC expansion that was in Borderlands 2. You can't just keep treading old ground, not innovating on what you do, not getting with the times. Like you got a looter shooter that isn't a live service game.
Right.
But you're trying to be like a hybrid live service, but you don't really nail that either. There's a lot that they got to get figured out. And when people express just concern with your capability of doing that, considering your recent history, you're not doing yourself any favors when you basically call these people toxic when they didn't do anything remotely toxic. And you yourself, Randy Pitchford, has been a toxic D-bag for literally every time you open your mouth. It's just like, it's kind of low-key hilarious that you would even say that. So, Logic, what do you have any thoughts on this topic here with Borderlands?
No, nothing too major. I'm not as big Borderlands. I'm not as deep into it as you guys are.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, anything else you want to say, Forte, before we we got 2 more rapid fires to do before we get into the main topics.
No, yeah, I'm good. I mean, Borderlands, you know, the funny thing is that movie is streaming now. I came across it when I forgot it was streaming, and I came across it and I was like, I kind of want to watch this. And then I decided not to. And then I decided not to. And I still to this day haven't watched it yet.
One night I was watching Reacher, and I dozed off. And you know how so on Prime Video, if you doze off, they're
up next and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's stuff that you never asked to see. Like I didn't ask to see this. You thrust this upon me. And I woke up and Borderlands was on, and I was just like, what the fuck? I didn't ask for this. Right. And it was like maybe in like the first 5 minutes of it, and I was just like, all right, let me just watch this. And I ended up watching the whole thing, and then when it was done, I was like, I should have just took my ass to bed. It was just like I just kept getting angrier and angrier as the movie went on, as they just went left with so many different characters and so many different aspects of what is considered to be like Borderlands lore. And yeah, I know that sometimes it's a good idea to kind of go off the beaten path when something just doesn't make sense for the big screen. But some of the choices they made was just like, what are we doing here? Why is this a thing? I kind of feel like it was one of those, and I saw this a few weeks ago, that now Hollywood studios, are casting actors and actresses not based upon their talent and how well they fit a role, but basically casting them upon like how big is their social media footprint, how many Instagram subscribers do you have, how many TikTok how many Instagram and TikTok followers do you have. That is basing everything that they make their decisions and casting on, because they just basically think that if you're that popular, people will come see this movie that you're in, even though you can't act worth a damn and you're completely miscast. And it's like, I feel like that's what this was, because you got like Jamie Lee Curtis in it. You got Kevin Hart playing a guy that's supposed to be like 6'5", and he's basically like 6+5" tall. And it's just like, you just show who's the black guy that got the most Instagram followers right now. Kevin Hart, get him. Yeah. It's just like you just chose whoever, and it's just so stupid. All right, I'm done. We can move on to
I love
this something that's been a big topic throughout the day today. AMD's 9070 and 9070 XT have launched, and the benchmarks of these have come out. And you know, it's been an interesting thing, because the 9070 XT, if you look at all the benchmarks and you average them out, for the most part, it is, the 9070 XT is a really good value at $600 based upon what we've seen. What it does is essentially, it's like basically slightly worse performance wise than a 5070 Ti, but value wise, its MSRP is $150 cheaper than the 5070 Ti, making it a way better value. But I think what we've seen today has been somewhat interesting when the way supply has gone, because, in short, it's the first day. So most products whether they end up being successful or not, end up selling out the first day. So the first day isn't really like a super big indication of anything. But when you see retailers putting a particular like model of the 9070 XT at MSRP on their website, and then their restock later that day has it for a higher price, the same model though, higher price. When you see a lot of the restocks they're restocking the more expensive $750 overclock models, the $850 overclock models, instead of the MSRP models, you know, it kind of changes the dynamics of what people have really seen from a lot of these reviews. Because a lot of these reviews, of course, they're not like fudging the numbers. The benchmark numbers are what they are. But then in near the end, they kind of go into, you know, value per frame, price per frame, you know, what are you really getting out of the product? And, you know, a card can be considered a great card at $600 for what you're getting. But then when you look at what's available and you find out that, well, maybe the only ones these were available was at Micro Center, and you don't happen to have a Micro Center in your state. Or the only ones where these were available at MSRP was in the United States, but you don't live in the United States. You live outside the United States, and none of the ones that you saw were at MSRP. Or whenever they're doing the restocks, and the only ones that seem to be available was the $850 9070 XT. That's not the same value, you know, because now that's actually up there around the price of the 5070 Ti, which is also out of, you know, not close to like value. And I've been seeing a lot of like tech tubers like Hardware Unboxed speak on this, Gamer Nexus speak on this. So I actually kind of feel like I really want to hear Logic's thoughts on this. Would you think about the 9070 XT launch and just, you know, supply and whether this is like a success for them or not?
So that's so I appreciate you setting me up for that. You read what I wrote today, so this is a repeat for you, unfortunately.
Of course.
I mean, this is like I am frustrated, right? So there's a lot more people. I guess. Let me back off of that a little bit. Okay, so the journalism problems that I have with it is, no, I think I was on the right track. There's a lot of people lathering telling them go buy this card, and quite frankly, I feel that the coverage on this card is very cavalier and very irresponsible. And since the PS5 Pro came out, there's been more people getting into the conversation about PC and PC tech. The conversation on PC and PC tech has already been diluted from the social phenomena of the live streamer. And I've talked to you guys about this before, and I've mentioned this to other people, that we have a lot of people in the space now who got into the space because a live streamer who started on console, got a following, was told that their stream wasn't very technically great, that they should upgrade to get a streaming PC and use and a capture card and send their live stream to Twitch that way. Of course, they get a tricked out PC, so that eventually they make the common sense assumption that, hey, maybe I should shift to gaming on PC since I already have this box. Mm-hmm. So then that live streamer tells all their followers that they should also shift to PC. So we have a lot of people in the space. Consoles went through this too, but they went through it in like the early 2000s. But you have a lot of people in the space now who just don't know PC tech. And I'm just going to be frank about it, right? In a space where there's no differentiation between when someone is speaking who builds PCs versus somebody who came in that alternate way that I just talked about.
Right.
Since the PS5 Pro went hot, then you had all these knuckleheads talking about, oh, well, you can build a $700 PC that is better than the PlayStation 5 Pro. And just since then, there seems to be this big dog pile on horse manure of conversation about things that just people don't know what they're talking about. And most importantly, they don't have the historical context of the way the PC industry works and this tech works. And so to get on to what I talked about, what I said today is everybody who is clapping hands. There's also a bunch of so-called PC gamers who are actually console warriors who are in the space who are pumping air up AMD's butt because AMD is supposedly working with PlayStation. So you have a lot of ponies galloping around, also telling people go buy AMD, which is just
click clack.
Yep, exactly.
Click clack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. This is the same thing. This is the same thing that I've been recommending to people for 20 years. When these cards drop, unless you are A, financially well off enough, and B, have the intestinal fortitude to deal with the problems that can come with being an early adopter, you have no business buying one of these cards on day one. Now you could choose to, but you're going to expose yourself to a lot of potential pain and a good financial expenditure, even at $500 or $550, whatever the MSRP is. Right?
Yeah. Now, granted, I would say this: if you're the kind of person that you may have bought a pre-built, but now after owning one for a little while, you want to expand your knowledge base on PC. You're actually like engaged in, I didn't build this, so there's a lot I don't quite know. I don't have that intimate knowledge of my rig the way I would someone who put it together themselves. But I see aspects of it that I would like to improve. Maybe it's power supply, maybe it's GPU, maybe I want to increase my RAM. So, so on and so forth. And they want to learn. I don't want to discourage those people to not do that. But it is going to be like installing a PC. Let's say you go on from like a 4060 to, I'm just going to say like, something that's like definitely significantly different when it comes to weight, size, and dimensions, a 4090. Like your 4060 didn't need a GPU SAG component to add to your build, but that 4090 will. So do you know that ahead of time? Do you know how to uninstall your GPU? Do you know what you should do before you uninstall your GPU to make sure you don't have issues with drivers once you put the new one in? Are you using DDU to uninstall and clean, your drivers and then shut down your PC before you put there's a lot of that stuff. And, it's not saying that, the three of us here are like, freaking subject matter experts on everything PC, but I'll speak just for myself, when I wasn't 100% certain on what to do, when I wanted to do something, I didn't go, oh, well, I'm not going to do it now. Yeah. Or I'll just wing it and figure it out and potentially bork something. I did my research. I went to the websites of the manufacturers of the products I wanted to install, or I just did a YouTube video of someone who already did it, watched what they said, paid attention, and knew what I needed to do before I did it. There's a process of doing these things that is the right way of doing it, and not necessarily like what PC is so confusing and frustrating because I just wanted to upgrade my GPU, but now I messed up the PCIe slot. It's just like or I installed it in the wrong PCIe slot. You're and right. I'm not getting all the VRAM bandwidth I'm supposed to get. It's just there's a way to go about it is what I'm saying. But I do agree with you that like a good number of the people who are doing this talk are people who never built their PC, and some of them of which when it comes to upgrading a GPU would rather buy a whole nother pre-built.
Yep.
Instead of just buying the GPU and installing it themselves and saving themselves a good additional $2,000 to $3,000. It's just, yeah. My bad. Continue, man.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with you, and I apologize. I didn't. It's not my intention to come off as like, well, like unless you're like a brainiac, then you shouldn't be upgrading. Like, no, I mean,
I feel you.
I mean, bottom line is like the same thing. Like what I always tell people is be well read. And I don't mean watch a bunch of YouTube videos. Watch YouTube videos, but be well read. Because when you've got your head inside a box with a little headlamp on, trying to squeeze your fingers, like if you got big hands, right, trying to squeeze your fingers in between like the PC motherboard and like not touch any capacitors, like you don't have time to be watching YouTube videos, right? You need to know stuff. So
that top left corner with the PCI connector for the I can't. I don't know. Look, man, my next build will not be a mid ATX case. I need an ATX case that got space. I might even get one of some of them now. The motherboards that are specifically designed for cases where that connector is on the back instead of the front, so you don't have to worry about trying to get the connector through and turn it around, and you got your big meaty hands in there trying to make it right. You can't even see, and you're trying not to break the header as you slide it in. Pause. And it's just like, yeah, man, who wants to do all that?
Right.
But I digress.
So I don't. So the main thing, right, that I wrote about today that I want to get across to people is, again, this is not about a matter of like, you're not smart enough to rate. Like, this is a matter of, this is the way these things work. When a new GPU drops, reviewers have tested it, but people need to understand that a review is not living with a piece of equipment. A review happens in a 1 week, 2 week compressed time frame of very intense testing. It is not often real world, right? And it often doesn't reflect the way you're going to actually use it. And therefore, there are often things that go undiscovered. Most times that like these problems come out with GPUs, they don't come out in the review cycle. They come out once they go on sale at retail and get into the hands of users. And then users start actually using them, and users start going, hey, hold on a second. This thing is sucking a ton of power when it's at idle. What the hell is going on? Right? Why are my fan cases and my blowers and all that stuff on, you know, when this thing is this is driving me nuts. Sorry, I'm on a new Mac and this thing just locked up. All right, so
Mac's locking up.
No, it's weird.
No, you said it already, man. You know, Mac's locked it up. You know, I thought Macs were impervious to stuff like that.
I'll be the first to tell you the lie has been for decades that right, that Macs don't get viruses, that Macs never, but Macs crash. I
know. I just wanted to hear you say it.
so my point is, when these cards come out, like if you're buying them as soon as they go on sale, you are in the envelope of people who may stumble across these problems. And so my recommendation today was, and the conclusion, the way people are getting to the conclusion that you should run out and buy these cards is, performs well, low cost, RTX 5000 has problems, and they're in stock. Therefore, there's four
and also F NVIDIA, those bastards. let's support AMD, which I understand it, but yet at the same time, it's like you also don't want to let AMD off the hook, you know, because like you want to support, you want competition, but you don't want competition in you know, to the detriment of quality. I would even say this to your point, and this is a perfect example of it. This only happened a few months ago. Intel released Battle Mage. What was it? The B650? Is that the name of it?
B580, I think. B570 and 580.
I think it's the B580.
Okay, yeah. Yes, and welcome, Ramon. I appreciate you.
Ramon, I just heard a fourth voice.
yeah, he just came in and was just like, yeah, it's the, you know, that voice actor voice, you know, this guy over here, you know, yeah, you know, that's the Battle Mage, the Intel B580. You know, I don't know what I guess he just did some lines or something.
More voice roles.
Oh, stop it! I barely getting my voice back now. Anyway, look, I was ringing Intel up because the Intel reviews for the Battle Mage GPUs is a perfect example of this. They were so happy that they were like $200 some, like $250, which is a great price, right? They were also so happy that it was outperforming the 4060 and outperforming whatever AMD's equivalent to the 4060 is. I can't remember what that is at the moment. And they were just so happy that this would kind of reset the low end GPU market, that they didn't consider that the kind of person who's going to buy that kind of GPU is somebody who doesn't mind playing at 1080p. someone who may have an older PC and I just want to upgrade my GPU. I just need a little bit more VRAM. I don't really need, they probably really probably need to just build a whole new PC, but they're not willing to do that yet. They just want to do the GPU. And these kind of people would typically have an older CPU, a CPU probably older than the GPU they're trying to replace. And the reason why I bring that up is that it came out due to consumers and people commenting to these tech tubers in their reviews, yo, test this GPU out with a CPU that's older than 3 years old. I'm not getting the same benchmarks that you're getting. And when they started doing that, that's when they realized, oh wow, this card's got some problems. This card isn't as unless you got a CPU that was released in the year 2022, 2023 and newer, you might have some problems with games running and getting acceptable performance. And these are kind of the things that like more thorough reviews should have been able to catch. Instead of like for a budget GPU, why are you using a 9800X3D, which is the best CPU on the market, to do all the benchmark testing? Like that's just it's not necessary. I understand it because you want to have a stable baseline when you compare the other GPUs, but you should probably use a CPU that's more relevant to how the real world use case is going to be for this product. And I think a lot of guys ended up with egg on their faces, which is why we saw so many re-reviews of the Intel card with other CPUs that would be more relevant. In addition to the fact that they also got supply issues, that was probably a bigger paper launch than NVIDIA's current launch right now, considering you can't find a Battle Mage card anywhere close to $250 at the moment. So,
and that's the thing. I mean, you talked about price a little bit earlier. So the thing that people don't understand because they don't realize, because again, there's lots of people creating a very big volume around, go buy these cards. They don't understand that there are not reference boards for these cards this time around. And so like if anything went on sale today at MSRP, you are highly likely to not see that as the norm, right, going forward, because all of them are AIBs. All of them are going to have some fancy cooler associated with it, RGBs, overclocking, etc. And so there's not going to be, I mean, AMD has claimed that there's going to be some MSRP boards, but they are likely to be very few in number. And so overall my recommendation today was pump your brakes, just give it 2 or 3 months. In 2 months' time, you will hear if there's some major voltage issue, if people's boxes are catching on fire, because 7900 XTX also had power connector problems, right?
Yeah.
One of the posts that I saw today was like, oh, the GeForce 5000 cards are catching on fire. I'm like, do you not understand that the same problem with a power connector, right, happened on the 7000 series? No, because you're out here running around recommending cards to people and you don't actually build PCs. So again, it's not a matter of you haven't built a PC, so you shouldn't be doing an upgrade. You haven't built a PC, so you should be very cautious about listening to the advice of people who don't build PCs telling you to run out and buy something. Is my point.
There you go. If you haven't built a PC, shut up on recommending products.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
I don't get it.
Don't say a word. You sit in the audience with the rest of the normies. There you go.
It's not hard to build a PC.
So the Radeon 7000s had an idle power problem, which AMD was updating drivers to address that problem up to a year after it launched. It had high temperature problems. It had faulty design flaw in the vapor chamber, which was associated with some of the high temperature problems, but also additional problems as well. There were lots of instability problems, lots of crashes due to drivers. And the other thing, and I didn't even mention this today because so many Radeon diehards will say this is boogeymaning, but look, drivers and updates on Radeon cards are a problem. It can be dealt with. There are people who figure it out, but it is not as lock, stock, and barrel simple as it is on GeForce, and that is a thing you need to understand. What I'm absolutely certain we're going to see and hear is a bunch of people getting lathered up to go out and buy these cards. They're going to go buy them, And I guarantee you in about 2 months, because that's about the amount of time that it takes for you to see this. It's after you put a pause on Windows updates, which you can do up to 5 weeks when you're on Windows Home version. So about the second iteration of that, the third time, so after 10 weeks, that's what I'm saying, about 2 months, right? You're gonna start hearing people saying, hey, I'm getting this pop-up whenever I boot my machine that says I have an AMD Adrenalin driver conflict. What is that about? And I'm going to say, that's the thing that I told you to read about and become educated about before you ran off and listened to these PlayStation ponies telling you to go out and buy an AMD card.
Click clack. Yeah, which is true. I do want to say this before Forte and Ramon say their piece. NVIDIA this time around has completed the trifecta of just bombing everything with this launch. I have a 4080 Super, and even I was dealing with some of their driver issues due to the new introduction of things. They had I started getting this black screen thing whenever I would bring my PC out of sleep.
Yep, I got that.
And I was just like, what the heck is going on? So I started researching it, and I started seeing a lot of different, I see a lot of people were having the same problem, and a lot of like not really fixing the issue, kind of troubleshooting. And so I started to kind of wonder, I'm like, considering the time period this is happening, you know, these cards about to drop. I wonder if this is just a GPU issue. And then I got the error message that there was an error with the NVIDIA driver after I finally, one time I brought it out of sleep, and I was actually able to switch inputs like twice or whatever on my my monitor, and then it finally showed the screen. And then when I saw that message, I said, oh, okay, all right. So I rolled the drivers back like two or three firmware editions back, and I was good until they came out, admitted it was their issue, and pushed a driver update. I can't say the word I'm looking for. Is it fast? No, I forgot. It's not like a full update, but it's basically just a patch to kind of.
The hot fix.
Hot fix. There we go. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word hot fix.
So
I said fire fix. You know, but they pushed the hot fix to fix it, and then I installed that. But like myself, as well as one of my friends, was thinking about is it just time to reinstall Windows?
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to reinstall Windows. It's like people about to reinstall the entire OS because you screwed up your drivers, and it's just. This is what happens. So, you know, if you're not willing to deal with all the tomfoolery, it might be best to just stick to, consoles. But
oh man,
okay. Forte. Okay.
Just this will be my last thing. I have a 4070 Super on the bench right now, pulled out because I got that black screen thing, and I can't tell, and it's so badly that I couldn't get the PC into safe mode with that GPU in there. So I've actually had to pull that GPU, and I now have a Radeon 6700 XT in that box. So which is fun. I mean, again, I'm the type of PC person who finds hardware failures fun because they allow me to.
Oh no, you disgusting for that. No one wants to see a piece of hardware, even if you spent $200 or $1 on it, fail.
Man, I'd be punching myself in the face over that stuff, and you
start choosing violence right now, saying stuff like that.
Forte,
when you work in the field and you regularly do troubleshooting for things, No. I
don't want to
having an interesting problem and being able to fix it can be.
I'll fix somebody else. Right. No, that's interesting when it's not mine. If I have to fix somebody else's. Then I'm good with that. That's fun. No, this is a challenge. When it's something that I pay,
because if you break it even further, then you wash your hands of it because it ain't yours. When it's yours, now you upset. This is my money on the line.
That's exactly how we all feel.
Forte, it was fun because when I wrote down my little list of courses of action of what I was going to do to troubleshoot. And I said, well, one of them is just swap the video card out. And then I went to do that. I went to my GPU spares pile. And
that's called first world problems, when you actually have the ability to go to a pile of GPU in the corner to replace it.
2080 Ti, 3080, 7700 XT.
He like licks his fingers as he
you like that hybrid 1080 Ti in the corner? Yeah, that mug's on the wall. I'm gonna use that.
I pulled out 9 GPUs, Forte.
Look at this. 9. I want to just have one as a backup. This man got a family of backups.
My backup is my PS5.
Right. My PC ain't working right now. I guess I'm turning on my PlayStation.
So SloMo, just my final thing before I turn it over to Forte and Ramon is, out of all that I said, the key thing I want to make sure people take away, that is not a recommendation to not buy AMD or to not buy the 9070 XT or 9070. I'm just saying, wait. In 3 months' time, the landscape may have changed. The RTX 5000 issues may have been resolved. Design flaws that came off the manufacturing line, those may have been flushed through the system. What always happens with GPUs in this window is as AMD and NVIDIA size each other up, right? And they're kind of remember how dudes used to fight in the cafeteria, right? They used to stand nose to nose and like twirl in a circle and have their hand up and say, "Don't touch me if I don't touch you. Don't touch me if I don't touch you." That's what's going to go on between these two for the next 3 months. And then
you have the guy that goes and grabs one of their hands and forces them to hit the other guy.
Yeah. So you're gonna
chief
have
instigators. Shout out to them.
and you're gonna have one of them blink, right? One of them will say, "Hey, I'm gonna cut this SKU by $50," right? Because that puts me right in between what the other guys. So you may have some of that. But then the other thing is like I said, these AIBs that are coming out on the AMD side because there's no reference board. By then you will have more vendors making cards that are closer to MSRP, and you will have a chance to get something at a better price. But at the end of the day, I would just strongly recommend give it 2 or 3 months, give these things some soak time out in the wild, let the early adopters spend their money, right, banging their heads against walls and figuring this stuff out, and then make a more tactical and informed decision. Again, I highly question. I feel like it's irresponsible to be telling people to run out and buy these boards right away.
Cool.
And you shouldn't be buying the RTX 5000 either.
Yeah, don't buy that at all. Yeah, you mean the 9070?
No, I'm saying.
I'm sorry. The RTX 5070. Yeah, just don't buy that. Period.
I don't think you should be. My recommendation is don't buy any RTX 5000 series right now because you have these ones that are popping up. I mean, the 5070 line, the 5080 line, and the 5090 line have all been shown to have missing render output processor units. And I would just give that some drift time to let those things get cleared out of the production of the manufacturing pipeline and make sure it's all clear. None have been discovered on the 5070 itself, but they have been discovered on the 5070 Ti, and because those two SKUs will be closely linked, I would just bypass it and just wait.
And the 5080 has been confirmed on the 5080 as well.
5070, 5080, and 5090. Yep.
Yeah, just skip them. Just skip them. Forte, your thoughts?
My thoughts are I don't buy brand new generations when they first come out. I wait because of situations like this. I don't mind troubleshooting, and I rather troubleshoot something I know is going to work when I buy it, and at least most of the bugs are out. That still doesn't eliminate the possibility of stuff like that happening. But I think it's going to be a really, really good GPU. It's a really good launch of the GPU. Like you were talking about when it came to that price point, the fact that that price point that they announced is just a price point just to say we have a price point at that level, but is that price point ever going to be able to be found in a store? If I remember, even with NVIDIA, how long did it take you to find a 4080 at the price point that you did amidst all of the ones that were like $1,300 and stuff like that? That's just kind of how it is in the GPU market. So I don't really have a problem with that per se, but I just don't buy until I know something works. Like I've been basically on this generation. I didn't get 5. I got my 3 early. No, I got my 3 because my 2080 Super, and I got a really good deal on it. But I waited a whole year before I actually got that, and then I waited almost until the 5000 series was out to get my 4090. So, that would drive me nuts to be having issues like that, because I don't like troubleshooting something, especially if it makes me feel like I have to reboot and redo my whole system and reinstall Windows. I ain't got time for that. So yeah, when it comes to stuff like this, just wait until mature drivers come out and everything, unless you're one of those people that like to really tinker with your stuff, which can be fun. I'm just getting on Logic about that being fun. It can be fun to tinker around with stuff. It just ain't fun when you're spending your own money to do it. But that's kind of all I have on that.
Cool. Ramon?
So, my perspective coming from someone who is 1 year and 4 months old in this is, and if anybody who is thinking about PC or is just into PC, like, there are a few things. One, I've been blessed to have some cool friends who helped me get started. Those people being on this panel right now. So I was lucky. But I mean, you should have some friends somewhere. You want to find out who is the reputable channels to listen to first and foremost, i.e., Gamers Nexus, Hardware Unboxed, etc. The second thing you want to do is know yourself. I'm willing to research. Yeah, right. Like I'm willing to research and learn things. And sometimes there are things that you can't really digest properly without like talking to someone about it. But know what your tolerance levels are. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say AMD tomorrow announced a card that is the exact same power as the 5090 and it's $200 cheaper. Same ray tracing, same rasterization, everything. Everything is just like shoulder for shoulder with the RTX 5090. And let's just say the 5090s aren't blowing up houses. Now, for me, it is worth the extra $50 or $100 or $150 or even $200 to have a card that is easier to maintain, troubleshoot, and run than one that I might save that money, but I'm spending more time like troubleshooting, or in order to do simple things, I'm booting in the safe mode all the time and yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying that's how AMD is. I've heard that's how it is, but then I also have a friend who says that they've simplified their driver updates and it's just as easy as NVIDIA. I don't know. Those are the two perspectives that I've heard. But know the type of things that you want. Like, just, I've already thanked you a million times, SloMo, but like when I was talking to SloMo and I was just like, want to build a PC, and he's just like, the first thing he asked me is, what's important to you? And then I told him, and I have since become a ray tracing whore, but that's beside the point.
That is true.
Visuals, ray tracing, ease of use. Well, actually, I didn't even need to tell him ease of use because he knew I was a rookie. So he recommended stuff that would be easy for me to set up and maintain because, friends don't let friends make complicated shit that they're going to regret their purchase. So, and then I did a lot of, research on my own. And then, I was lucky enough between SloMo and Logic, answering questions for me and everything. And then I can go off from that point and figure things out when I, on my own. And then eventually, I started learning more about how to troubleshoot things on my own. I've had a few hiccups here and there and bumps in the road, but I've been able to figure them out going online. Just like there was this one issue with a game and I went and Googled, and then, a modder created a fix for a game. It's an older game, and then just like things like that you find on your own. If you're willing to pay a little extra for ease of use, then you need to know what to buy. You need to know which ones service your abilities or your tolerance. And then the other thing is remembering your train of thought, which I no longer do. But basically, if you're new in the space, you got to be willing to, do some homework and know the type of gamer that you are. I want the closest to a console experience on PC that I can possibly get, and I'm willing to trade off the occasional bump in the road. Oh, I remember my train of thought now. What Forte covered most of it, the buying new. One thing that just came as intuition for me was not buying a GPU that just came out. I was like, okay, I don't have a lot of knowledge with this, so I'm not going to buy a component fresh off the lot that might have issues that I don't know how to fix, or with Canadian prices, that if it jacks up my PC, I can't afford to replace. So I would never buy something at launch, even if I was building a PC tomorrow. Tomorrow would have to be six months minimum down the line. And I know a guy right now who's like, he's moving to another country, and so he had a 4090 and sold it because he didn't want to deal with customs going to the other country. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna build a 5090. This is before they launched. And I was gritting my teeth. I didn't say anything because he'd already did it, so there was no point in saying anything. But I was just like, oh man, why did you do that? We don't know what these cards are gonna be like. And now, he's probably gonna end up getting like a 4070 Super because they sell those over there. They still have some of those on the shelves. So, I mean, you got to apply a little bit of logic. You got to do some homework, and you got to know the type of person you are. Otherwise, you're going to go to PC, you're going to hate it, you're going to go right back to console. And there's nothing wrong with console, but like PC is just a whole other world. And for all of the hiccups that it has, it's a freaking beautiful experience.
Agreed. Our last, I can't even call it rapid fire topics no more because we've been on these rapid fire topics for a minute.
Was in our first topic. I didn't know we were still on rapid.
So this is more like musket fire topics. Muskets like back in the Civil War when you would shoot it and then you had to take the little like
30 seconds to a minute to reload.
Yeah, you gotta like pull the thing out and you gotta get your gunpowder and pour that in, and then you take the pipe and stick it all down in there, and then you shoot again, and then you got another like 3 minutes before you can shoot again. That's been like musket fire topics for tonight. Yeah, but the last one is actually about The Last of Us. This one is in regards to The Last of Us, and according to Variety, they did an interview with Neil Druckmann. He was asked if he's going to make The Last of Us Part 3. And initially, he had expressed some, I wouldn't say like a confirmation, but leaning more towards that they were going to do that previously. But his answer this time was kind of the opposite. He said, the only thing I would say is don't bet on there being more of Last of Us. This could be it. Now, maybe something has changed since they canceled Factions 2, aka The Last of Us Online. Maybe that wasn't just them not believing in the multiplayer experience that they created, but it may have indicated a little bit more than that, and maybe the studio wanted to go in a different direction. As we know, that their next game is a brand new IP. Isn't going to be kind of like game design isn't like, from what we see, isn't going to be like the Uncharted and Last of Us games. So maybe they're just going in a different direction as a studio. Ramon, what are your thoughts on that?
You knew to come to me for this one. You know what I'm about to say. So my initial reaction would be relief. I have ever since what was it? Jack and Daxter, the precursor Legacy, Naughty Dog had rapidly started becoming my favorite studio. And by the time they made it to Uncharted, it was solidified. Like if the name Naughty Dog was on it, it was an insta buy. And then I saw the announcement for The Last of Us, and I was like, man, that looks awesome. It looks even better than Uncharted. And then I saw what it was, and it's horror. I don't like horror, but I liked Naughty Dog immensely. So I was like, you know what? For the first time, I'm gonna buy a horror game because I love Naughty Dog. So I did. Almost made it through, but once I ended up in an area with half clickers running around, and one of them breathed into my right ear from my surround sound system, that was enough. I say all that for a reason, and that is when The Last of Us 2 came out, they had already were losing me with The Last of Us 1, and then I'm not the biggest fan of The Last of Us 2's story. I'm not going to say more than that because, I've watched the gameplay all the way through, but I didn't play it myself, so I'm not going to express an opinion on a game that I didn't physically play, even if I did watch it. But the fact that they're going to move towards intergalactic gives me hope. Not excitement, hope, because if Neil Druckmann is going to make another depressing story, then I won't be playing intergalactic either. I don't do depression simulators, I'm sorry. I'm just joking for all the Last of Us folks who breathe fire on anybody who doesn't like it. I'm joking. I'm partially joking.
But speak your truth. Speak your truth.
Yeah. So, I have hope that I will enjoy intergalactic. I'm hoping that it'll be something, that's up my alley and not just this heavy, depressing, I finish it and I feel wrung out, exhausted, and I'm thinking about my life and jumping off a bridge afterwards type stuff. So we'll see. But it will be really nice if they're moving along to something else, even after Intergalactic, because I'd like to start buying Naughty Dog games again. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. Forte, what are your thoughts?
I don't care.
You don't, not even a little bit.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
Wow.
All right. That is just fine. You don't have to care. Logic. Do you care at all that you may not get a Last of Us Part 3?
I'm sorry, SloMo. I was gonna.
Was he about to say I don't care either?
No, I am about to blow it up though. I was going to be brief. Look, the GPU discussion was my big thing for the night, and I was going to be quiet. Forte, I need to understand why you don't care, because I feel like there's something there.
Forte really also is about to get hate mail from Naughty Dog.
I really liked the first one, and the second one just didn't do it for me, and I just kind of just out of that franchise now. It's not like I'm not super into that franchise like a lot of people have been. So it's just more of that. Like I felt like the decisions they made, and this isn't just talking about life or death and people that died in it. I just felt like it's almost like how I felt about God of War. Like the Ragnarok, where I felt like a lot of stuff kind of just lagged on for so long, and I just got kind of like bored with it after a while. The only difference is that I can see a path still where I can still be interested in God of War when they come out with the next version, because there's still things that they didn't explore in that genre, in that version of it. Whereas Last of Us, I feel like, what else are you going to do in it? Now, granted, I know they could probably come up with something. I just don't care what it is because I'm not super involved in what it's going to be right now.
Okay, I get that. For me, personally,
you don't care either, do you?
Well, no, it's not that. I'm not emotionally. Okay. I mean, I'm not emotionally attached to anything. One of my statements is always never get involved with the game.
You're emotionally attached to that corner of GPGs.
Yeah, hardware, yes. But one of the things I always say about games is never get involved in a game that you can't walk away from in 30 seconds or less. But my more soulful feeling about it is I always defer to the creators. And look, if people have been working on The Last of Us since it came out on the PlayStation 3, I totally understand why people would want to move on. Cory Barlog talked about that with the God of War franchise. Mm-hmm. A thing that I think is really important that people should really read. I mean, it's kind of become a personal hobby of mine to dig deep into the background and history of GSC Gaming World and the Stalker franchise. But I just read another article, really good article by over on Eurogamer that I highly suggest people go read. But it's another perspective of that past history from one of the game's lead designers on the original Stalker, and he talks about kind of the symbiosis between GSC Gaming World and 4A, which is one of my favorite studios because I love the Metro franchise. But one of the things he talked about, and actually it rang true with me because it's actually going to change the way I do some things at work, is but one of the things he mentioned was when developers work on a single franchise for like a decade, they become mired in the mindset of what that thing is. And I've actually run across this in kind of one of my big C stories that I sometimes tell about, like epiphany moments in software development. There was a moment where on a team that I was running, we were encountering a problem in the field, right, as we were trying to install and integrate this equipment with some other people's machinery, and this problem had plagued us for months. And finally, late one night, Sunday, I was probably punch drunk, half asleep, tired, hungry, and I said, "What if we just wipe the board? Don't consider the current design and architecture. Like if you had to do this all over again, how would you?" And one of my developers, who's actually a very good friend of mine, still a co-host on E2KG, we talk like every week. He said, if I were to write this from scratch, this is how I would go about it. That moment in time took us out of that problem. It's hard for me to even describe the nightmare that we were in with like vice presidents of companies constantly chewing us out about this one thing. But going back to what that guy said for GSC Gaming World and Stalker, he said, look, when you're caught in that paradigm, it becomes tougher, and the longer you're in it, the tougher and tougher and tougher it becomes to think of things new and to think of innovations, because you are constantly, those people who are in that bubble are constantly coming at it from the vector of, this is what we built last time, this is what we built the first time, these are the way things work.
Absolutely, yes.
And he said, like, the reason you get Stalker 2 is because it was an entirely new team, right? He said, look, all those guys are younger than us. Some of them are new in the like in comparison, we would have been the veteran team, like developers who had been through the fire before. There's no way we could have built Stalker 2 because we were all doing it from the paradigm of what Stalker was, and we would have never gotten there. So this is the same thing I say about Guerrilla, right? Guerrilla broke the mold, right? Shifting from Killzone to doing Horizon Zero Dawn. And I know it's fun to Nickelback Horizon Zero Dawn these days, but that's
Nickelback is the perfect analogy for what that IP is. But continue.
Yeah, but that's an amazing. I will always hold Guerrilla in praise as one of not one of my top 5 favorite studios, but absolutely one of the top studios of all time, in my opinion, because so many studios try and matriculate that course change, and they never do it. Right? They do it, and it's a catastrophic failure.
Yeah, I will end the musket topics with this thought on it. I think this is just purely a numbers game. When you look at the details of how they were able to make The Last of Us Part 2, it took them the bulk of, if not all of the entire last generation to make this game. They are a 300 developer studio that when you look at the number of people who helped make this game, it's over 2,000. So you got over 1,700 contractors as well working on this title. And it's a technical masterpiece, a technical marvel considering the hardware that it was developed on. But that's a grind. And Naughty Dog is a studio that does not shy away from the crunch and the grind of churning through bodies, churning through developers. And, at some point in time, all that said, and all the money spent and all the time spent on making the game, that you look at the numbers and you look at where PlayStation is, and you just wonder, is it worth it? Is it still going to come out? Is it? Maybe not. It's leaning towards not. Because Naughty Dog is the kind of studio that the bulk of the developers of that studio work on one game. They may have a skeleton crew kind of like incubating the next title that's coming up, but the bulk of them are all working on one particular game. And when you already have canceled GTA Online, The Last of Us Online, because supporting it was going to essentially change you into a different kind of studio. when you already got Intergalactic, which is a very different kind of experience that you're working on, and that's going to take time. By the time you get around to working on The Last of Us Part 3, you're going to have the TV shows over, and it's getting critical acclaim. And you may have a very different idea of how you view that IP and where you should go from here. I look at it very much so like Uncharted. Is the juice worth the squeeze anymore? Are we going to get a return on investment for the amount of money and expenses and time that we're putting in on this game for doing an Uncharted 5? For doing a Last of Us Part 3? Is there even more story to tell? Especially considering how people have so many, current story for The Last of Us Part 2 is very polarizing. And some people feel like it's a bad story. Some people think it's an amazing story. There are very few people who just think it's just okay. And where you take it from there, do you even know where to take it from there? I've always been the kind of person that says that when a creator creates something, and they have a beginning and an end, an alpha and an omega, when they're ready to end it, let it end. Because what it turns into after you convince them with money to keep it going because it's successful financially, is making you money, is making him money, is making everybody money, ends up becoming something that you didn't want. When someone writes a story and they write subplots and they tie all that up and they end it and they put it in a little bow, they wrap it up, it's all good to go. When you bring that back again and now you're trying to write new things out of it, take characters whose story arcs are already completed and then revive them into something else, it always goes bad. It always makes the character feel lifeless or not the same character. It looks like a money grab because it is a money grab. And I'm just not interested in that kind of experience. The Last of Us Part 2, I thought the improvements to the combat, fantastic. Again, technical masterpiece. That PS4 is a piece of trash. And they were able to get one of the best looking games that come out at that time on a piece of trash hardware. It's almost freaking magic.
Still rivals games today.
Yeah. And expert level, masterpiece level motion capture and animation that you just don't see in gaming, period. Set the bar for it. That said, what they did to Joel and how they did Joel, look, I have no problem with Joel dying. I got a problem with how Joel died because that was stupid. That was plot-based storytelling. That's not character-based storytelling. Yep. Plot-based storytelling is when you write someone to do something simply because you need them to do it for the plot, but it doesn't make any sense for the character. And it just doesn't make any sense for that character. The structure of how they had in Seattle 3 days with Ellie, then 3 days with Abby. I thought the Abby stuff dragged because it's all this drama with all her friends. And I'm just sitting here just like, yo, this woman's dead. I do care about this conversation. Like, I just watched this woman get stabbed to death. I don't care that her and Abby got beef right now. It don't matter because I know in 2 days the whole conversation is moot. Where y'all take it, it don't matter at that point. The structure of the story is what I had issue with. And if that is what you're going to continue with The Last of Us Part 3, you can save that, bro. I'm good.
If I can punctuate your point with, one way I can describe how you don't want to receive a product from an artist who doesn't want to do it but has to do it because XYZ is if you and a very capable one. That's important to add. A very capable one is if you've ever eaten a meal, the meal wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it just made you not hungry anymore.
So you ate it out of necessity just because
exactly
you needed
like
to.
You ate the meal and you're like, okay, well, I'm not hungry anymore, but it's not gross, but I didn't enjoy a single bite of it. I'm just not hungry anymore, and I guess that's why I ate. So if you don't want a sterile experience from a creator who would have rather have made something that their heart was in, but they had to make this because, you know, there was overwhelming demand for it, and their bosses were like, no, you're gonna make this. I remember I don't remember if it was Final Fantasy VII or another IP where they were like, you know, asking, they're like, hey, you know, people are begging you about a remake for this IP, blah blah blah, and he's like, we'd love to see a remake, we just don't want to be the ones to do it. And it's because, you know, and this is different because it's a remake, it's not a sequel, but it's kind of similar because, you know, if you don't want to return to a past IP, it is like pulling teeth to motivate yourself to actually do it. You know, it's like, I can't even describe how much of a drag it is to return to something that you don't want to do. Your heart's not in it, but there's, you know, demand for it, so you're trying to make it work.
I can definitely see that. Yeah. And Brian East in the chat says that he thinks that a prequel, if they go back to this IP again, that a prequel would be best. He says 2 big reasons: that 1, it brings Joel back, and 2, you can kind of reset the storyline, doing it with a time skip to a time when Joel was younger. And if you followed the story, Joel was kind of a savage. In between his daughter dying and the prologue of the first game and to when they pick things up 20 years later, he kind of calmed down a bit. But there was a time period where he was not someone you wanted to run into. In that time period. So maybe that would be a good thing. I think I would only say that, kind of to what we talked about like creators and what Ramon just spoke on about creators not really wanting to do something that they've already feel like they have reached their limit of what they want to do with the IP. That might be something that you might want to put another studio on. Yeah. Have a studio, something else like Sony Bend or somebody, a support studio. I think it was their studio. Something dev. I forgot the name, but they got like an internal studio that doesn't really have a name, but they just kind of work on cinematics. They were the ones that wanted to do I believe either an Uncharted or Last of Us remake, and that kind of got the ball rolling on. It was the Last of Us. They want to do a Last of Us remake, and they're the ones that got the ball rolling on that. That ended up in it becoming the Last of Us Part 1. Maybe you put a studio like that on the prequel, because then this frees up Naughty Dog to continue on, kind of keeping their creative juices flowing, and not feeling like, you know, man, I gotta keep making this game. I got a good 3-4 years of making a game I don't want to make anymore because of whatever. So, okay, we are finally done with the musket topics.
Cannonball topics.
Yeah, man. Let's get into the first real topic of the night, and that is about Respawn Entertainment. And so Respawn has, and this is according to former production coordinator Emily Evans, Respawn has canceled yet another game. This one is a unannounced first-person shooter multiplayer game. This was canceled recently, and according to Jeff Grubb, who spoke on this briefly on Twitter earlier today, the same team that had a Mandalorian game that they were working on that got canceled is the same team that was working on this game. Essentially, they had repurposed some assets from the Mandalorian game, and we're going to make a brand new IP out of it, and that also got canceled. This is also in addition to a Apex Legends project that was going to be more campaign focused, kind of like a Titanfall light, not necessarily Titanfall 3, but that also was canceled as well. And so my question for you, Forte, is this an indication of any issues that might be arising at Respawn when it comes to a lot of their projects getting canceled? or is this more about the health of EA's business overall?
I don't think it really has a thing about when it comes to like Respawn in general. I just think right now a lot of games are being canceled by publishers and stuff due to the fact that they're starting to see a changing in the landscape, especially if it's something they haven't announced yet. Maybe it was another live service game in the lines of or like something adjacent to what Apex Legend was, something that they thought they could probably maintain two different things. Also, it could be a myriad of different things. I just think ultimately you're seeing a lot of Sony's going through it. Microsoft went through it. Remember, the last 2 years, Microsoft literally laid off a ton of people when it came to stuff and canceled a lot of different projects, not just in gaming, just in other sectors and stuff. So I just think it's more of just a process of what's going on in gaming right now, due to the fact that a lot of people are trying to readjust their portfolios based on what they thought was going to be the thing happening now versus what actually is right now. A lot less people are buying games and they're playing a lot of free-to-play games. Why you see games like Fortnite and stuff like that still dominating the way it does. But it ultimately just keeps coming back to the point that they don't want to keep losing money like this. Like at a certain point, you would release a game, even if if you were like far in development on it, you would kind of release it just so you can still like recoup some of the costs. Now we see that could be not only a bad thing for the developer itself, but just their perception of their games in general. You only got to go back that far to see Concord. They could have let that game exist and still live, but PlayStation has a very high standard when it comes to their games and everything, and they didn't want like something like that to be living on their portfolio. And if they knew that was going to be the route that game was going to go before they released it, they would have canceled it before they even talked about it. So I think that's kind of where we are now. EA in general, they make so much money off of other things, like their sports games and everything like that. It just seems like they're, trying to trim that fat in the areas that they need to. And it doesn't help that the last game that came out from Respawn it didn't sell bad, but it didn't exceed the expectations like they thought it probably would, due to it having a license on it like Star Wars. But I also think that has something to do with Star Wars too, because Star Wars isn't like the hottest thing right now, so people aren't really looking for it like that. But that's kind of where I think it is. I think it's just more of a maturing of the market, and these
can I just express my disappointment that I'm forced to play Jedi Survivor on a console because the PC version is still a broken piece of garbage.
It hit why I haven't played it, because guess what? I spent all this money on my PC to be able to play games like that on it, and you're telling me I have to go play it on an inferior piece of hardware. I just refuse to play the game at that point.
So once you get
that's
once
where
you get
I was so long.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised though, because like whether I downloaded the patch or the mod correctly or not, like once I did, it was working fine for me. I only especially once you get off that first planet, but like once I installed that mod, that seemed to fix it for me, but I only encountered one other problem after that, and that was towards the end. It pissed me off too, because it went into the middle of a battle cutscene, and then it froze, and all I could do was hear everything, and the game didn't come back until the cutscene was over. But other than that, that mod that I told you about, it seemed to have fixed everything except for that one last thing. But that doesn't excuse anything, though.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
I was a little distracted. Ramon, did you say mod? I thought I heard patch the first time, but then I heard you say mod.
I think I was starting to say patch, and then I stopped myself and then said mod.
Well, okay, you installed a mod, but there were also patches that attempted to fix the game, and they did fix some things, but they didn't fix the majority of the issues that game has. Chief among them is frame timing issues, and it being one of the worst Unreal Engine games with animation stutter and traversal stutter, shader cache issues. It's pretty egregious.
It's unethical.
And those are the issues that had me just I just quit it, because I started playing the game, And then I actually ran. I probably would have finished it when it first came out, despite all the issues. But I ran to a particular bug where I need to get to my ship to go off planet to kind of continue the story. Every time I got near my ship, the game would crash.
Damn.
So I was basically like locked out of continuing the game, and I uninstalled it because I was so pissed off with the experience and the state of the game. Months later, when Respawn and EA are saying, we fixed it.
No, you didn't.
It's great now. Don't worry about it. It's awesome, right? I reinstalled the game. They did fix that bug. I was able to get off planet. As soon as I got to the next planet, the shader cache stutter issues were among the worst I've ever seen.
Wow.
In any game, to the point where I was dying in combat because I couldn't see what was happening. Like, it would be fine until I ran into a stormtrooper, and then I'm trying to attack them, and the animations were so choppy, and just the stutter was so bad that it's like I would end up killing someone, and I don't even know how I killed them. Or I end up getting hurt. I don't know how I got hurt. And it was just like, nah, fam, I'm done. I just uninstalled it and moved on. And now attempt number 3, because every time I see this game anywhere, I think about how much people said they enjoyed the story and they enjoyed the overall experience of the game. It's a quality title in its actual content. And I was like, you know what? It's on EA Play. Let me just install it on Xbox. And now this is going to sound terrible. Still, consoles are still inferior. So don't get it twisted, some of y'all. But I only had one stutter, maybe 2, and I only did the early prologue area so far. But like 1 or 2 stutters, and that's it. And I said, you know what? I'm probably just going to go ahead and finish this on console, unfortunately.
Oh, let me tell you, because shout out to Eric Jackson, because we played it at the same time because we were talking about it, and I was telling him what issues I was having, and he was like, "Damn, man, that sucks." He's like, "I haven't had it." He said, "I haven't had a single issue," and I'm like, "Mother!" And this is when I had my 4070, and what's crazy is SloMo, the issues you had, I didn't have. So apparently there weren't any like. It wasn't just a set of issues that were across the board. Apparently there were random different types of issues, because the ones you had, I didn't have. And then you didn't talk about the ones that I had. Eric played on PlayStation, had no issues. I had a 4070 and had fewer issues with you in terms of not being able to continue on with the game.
Now the console version also, like I think when Eric played on PlayStation, he played it like months after launch.
Oh yeah. Like he played it way after launch, like maybe a year.
Because at launch it was broken on consoles too, and so it didn't get fixed. It got fixed on consoles maybe like 3 months after it launched. But the PC version just seems to like maybe it was just too many issues, and EA's told them wrap it up, B. We want you to make this last gen version of the game, which is ridiculous. It probably runs awful on last gen consoles, and then move on, because they haven't really addressed the problems with it since then. So whatever. Regardless, I'm just wondering, this is, kind of like a greater problem with these cancel games for Respawn, whether it's just EA. Logic, what are your thoughts on that in particular? Do you think this is an EA issue or is it a Respawn issue?
I mean, I haven't read as much into it, and I don't have sources in Inside Baseball. I mean, to me, games get canceled. So, I mean, there's governance, there's reviews. Who was it? Who did the interview? I guess that was in Piscatella's interview, where he really talked about like the green light process, right? Which doesn't happen one time, but happens at several times, right, throughout a game's lifetime. Which just, again, to corroborate further, evidence of statements that we've heard, tells you that it's something that doesn't happen at Xbox sometimes. But at any rate, because otherwise, how in the world could you get could you get a Redfall? But he talks about this process, and I'm like, games come up for review periodically, right? You don't just get handed, right, a $1.7 million budget for the year, or a $700K budget for the year, right, over 4 or 5 years. Wait, what am I saying? I'm doing weird math. You don't get given a budget of
weird math.
of what am I thinking? Like what, $30 million a year, right, for 5 years, and just get sent off on your merry way and just get told, hey, come back and talk to us when it's time for the game to release, right? You get reviewed every year, and each time, right, and it's a year-long time, so each time the market can be shifting and moving around. PlayStation got a lot of flack for canceling live service games, and I'm like, the landscape of the industry is changing.
Yeah.
Right? And once you cancel one live service game, right, you start getting, again, this thing that Piscatella talks about, which is that, yay, verily, and somebody else was saying this, it doesn't make any sense to do anything but live service games. Live service games, are the biggest earners each year. I'm like, yeah, that's also the problem. Right?
Right.
They're sucking all the air
I've
out
never
of the room.
subscribed to that. Yeah, that mentality that is like, you should just make live service games. I'm like, but when you look at the most played games out there, it's the same 5 to 7 games that's been out for a good 5 to 7 years, and all these live service games keep failing because nobody's playing them. So, like, why would you just pigeonhole yourself into just live service games? It doesn't make any sense.
It's like telling somebody that says they want to make more money to play the lottery. Like,
which kind of funny. That's exactly what the industry is. Ubisoft just canceled a game that was an extraction shooter, right, off of Far Cry 6. And like I keep coming in here every week trying to tell SloMo, extraction shooters are not the bee's knees that everybody thinks they are. They're not going to blow up.
I never said the extraction. Hold up. I've been saying extraction shooters suck. They are not good. Which is, Marathon's likely going to fail. I don't like extraction shooters.
Marathon.
This is
Marathon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, what I think this is also probably a part of is this is within the confines of Zampella's tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Zampella's tribe, right? He hath been given unto him the power of the battlefield. And I think, given like all of this that we've heard, like the largest development team ever, like we've put together a team that's bigger than the Call of Duty team now. Like EA has put all of their eggs in this basket of Battlefield.
Yep.
And like at some point,
so there's not enough money for anything else.
Yeah, or just not enough focus and time, right? Because it's human beings. Like how much can Zampella focus on? Right, and the question maybe starts being asked, and this is an interesting thing to watch, because I've talked about these, gods of game development and what happens when they become cults of personality, right? Like, I don't know right now that Bethesda can do anything without a Todd Howard. Because I have heard nothing of who's coming up in the ranks behind him, who he's training. I've seen that at Sony Santa Monica.
Thought.
Right? At Sony Santa Monica, Cory Barlog is propping up the people who are going to come after him. He's turned the reins over on God of War, and he's moved on to another thing. Succession planning is a thing, right? So
that's true.
I mean, it's possible that the question's being asked, hey, how much can Respawn do anything without Zampella being involved directly and close to the metal? And can Zampella be involved if he is on Battlefield? Right? Because just as the analog, what we kind of heard out of Bethesda was Fallout 76 was a problem because Todd Howard was too busy working on Starfield. And I'm like, okay, that's a root cause to pick at. But then I would also say, why can't Bethesda focus on anything when Todd Howard is going and working on something else? That's a problem.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's the thinking at EA is a cautionary tale of some of those things still going on. I don't know.
I just want to say real quick, watching this gameplay, I didn't realize how trash I am at Titanfall until I watched this gameplay. Carry on.
What?
I'm absolute trash.
I am not good at, like, I literally reinstalled Titanfall just to
taking dudes out. You knew you're taking dudes out and knowing when to shoot, like, and then just keep going. Like, I just remember when I played this section, and it was like, I knew I wasn't the best first person shooter, but I didn't know how trash I was right now. So,
Look, this is. I actually thought I was doing pretty bad considering I hadn't played the game, and I knew I was going to do this topic, and I can't stand Apex Legends, so I wasn't going to reinstall that and have a match of Apex Legends in here. So I was like, let me go get the GOAT and just randomly choose a mission, and I think I played like pretty garbage, but I thank you because I thought it was pretty awful, all things considered.
That means I'm even more awful. We'll go ahead.
No, I mean we can. No, Ramon, you didn't get a chance to say anything about this. What are your thoughts? Is this a EA issue or is it a Respawn issue with their game cancellations?
Based on this takes me right back to Jedi Survivor. If it were left up to Respawn, I feel reasonably confident that Jedi Survivor would be in a better state. But I suspect that EA is the reason why that game is in the state that it is, and the reason I say that ties into this. I think that it might more likely be EA than Respawn. You know, we may never know, but I would suspect EA first. That being said, though, I mean, before we had the internet, social media, and so forth, we never even knew about cancellations, and if we did, we found out about them through a documentary or years and years later. So I mean, Logic already said it, and he's even said it on Blue Sky a number of times that all these things are things that happen on a daily basis in the industry. It's unfortunate, but in every entertainment industry in general, there's so many cancellations of projects that it will make your head spin. So I know that's not exactly part of the question that you asked, but yeah. No. It's
definitely relevant to what we're talking about, and I generally agree with you guys. I do think this is more of an EA thing. Yeah. That they're just not and I think Logic's point about Battlefield is likely the biggest culprit here, is that they're banking a lot on this next Battlefield being the most successful Battlefield to come out in, if not ever, then a very long time. They put a lot of resources behind it. They have canceled some other Battlefield projects they felt like didn't really work, all things considered. Marcus Leto's Battlefield campaign-focused, story-focused Battlefield got canceled. I think EA really wants Battlefield to be what Call of Duty is for Activision, and if that, in order to do that, you need to put the kind of resources that Activision puts behind Call of Duty. In order to kind of make that happen. If you don't, then you just don't. You have zero shot from off the rip. It's just, don't even bother wasting your time if you're not going to dedicate that kind of resource to it. But that said, resources aren't infinite. You don't have infinite number of developers. You don't have infinite number of money, despite how much Ultimate Team and Madden and FIFA and EAFC football seem to basically prop up the entire business. You don't have infinite money to use towards every project. And so some stuff gets left by the wayside, even if it's something that gamers definitely would have felt like, especially if you're not a Battlefield fan. I would have much rather had that Mandalorian game than another Battlefield. Or I much rather would have wanted to see a new IP from Respawn and see what they were able to come up with than yet another Battlefield game. It's just, you don't really... Unfortunately, we are not the demographic that they care to listen to.
Well, the other thing I just want to tap on the end, put on the end of that is, again, console wars, right? There's a lot of narrative that is coming out. It has really been happening. I think I want to say since last year. Maybe it's been going on the whole. Like anytime a game is canceled, then it's like a reason to clown like a brand. And I'm like, no. Again, an understanding of software development and understanding of business, right? Now that this stuff comes out and isn't in secret, it needs to be understood. Canceling a game in and of itself is not bad. In fact, my first leap would be to assume that that's good, because what it does is it prevents a redfall. It prevents something coming out that may not be right? The thing that it needs to be. It prevents potential mishandling of like your favorite IP, right? And we all have had games that have landed. I would even confine it just to this generation that we were like, oh man, I wish they would have pulled that one back. I wish they would have put that one back in the can, you know? So, I mean,
but that said, the flip side of it, I could use the example of BioWare with EA, where before they lost all their talent, BioWare pitched a Knights of the Old Republic remake, and EA said no, because they didn't, they were still in their mode of, well, we can't make a multiplayer game out of this, so no. And that would have been much preferable from a bulk of the talent that BioWare had and they had made the previous game than the nonsense that has transpired with Aspire and Sony and Embracer Group with this disaster of a Knights of the Old Republic remake that we probably will never actually see the light of day. Sometimes canceling a project is. I see your point where it turned out to be good, because the end result could have been garbage. Like I think Scalebound never looked good to me ever. Every time I saw it, I looked like this is a pile of mid, and I don't understand why anyone cares for this. This Devil May Cry knockoff guy with headphones on, popping pimples on a dragon's butt is what looked like Scalebound to me. So when they canceled it, I was like, all right, good. Like to me, I didn't even notice there was a whole controversy about it until I started getting into social media and realized people were really upset about Scalebound being canceled. And I was just like, really? Because the game looked terrible. But, I see your point where sometimes there is a case where it's warranted and needed. And sometimes it's like, what are we doing here?
Well, I see your point, right? In terms of that BioWare example, in my head, I paint a difference between canceling a game that you have greenlit, right? Like you greenlight the game, it works. Like they work on it, they come up for review number 1, review number 2. At review number 3, you say this is not coming together, or 3 other games that look just like this have all just failed. Right, and you making the call to pull the plug on the remainder of the investment. That to me in my head is different than you not greenlighting a game in the first place.
I got
we would have said like, that and I don't know, the Spider-Man multiplayer thing, which I think didn't get canceled, but just never got really authorized.
It never got released. They made a prototype and then they did a trailer. They kind of pitched the prototype to Sony, and Sony said no. But when the hack happened, people got to see the trailer and what some of the gameplay looked like, and people generally thought it looked good to them. So yeah.
Or even Ben pitching, another Days Gone. Look, we all have our notions that Days Gone was not the thing. I mean, Days Gone, in my mind, wasn't a great game until it landed on PC. But Ben Studio, I kind of feel sad for Ben Studio that they're constantly a support studio and doing everybody else's stuff. God. But
yeah. Although I think Days Gone is mediocre and deserves to be left behind, but that's just me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said great. I didn't mean great. I just mean the best version of Days Gone didn't happen until it landed on PC.
Yeah, I feel you. We can move on to the next topic that I would say probably might be a bit shorter than our other ones due to the game and the developer that this is about. So, the first Descendant, Nexon has announced that they are no longer supporting the first Descendant on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 as of June 19th. And this will be almost a year since the game launched. They claim, Nexon claims that this change is to keep increasing player satisfaction. Forte stop. Suggesting that their developers that have been working on the last gen version of the game will be shifted towards making new content for this game on current gen consoles and PC. Forte, since you seem to find something humorous from these statements, do you believe Nexon when they say that?
This game's gonna be dead in the next year, like dead. This is just that. Basically, what they're telling you, without telling you, is there ain't nobody playing this game. They're barely playing it on next gen, and they definitely ain't playing it in the old gen. So you know what? Player satisfaction is a good way because we can say a lot of these systems and stuff that we have built into the game, we could kind of retire some things just to make it more playable and like kind of up the player experience on next gen consoles. But that was just a nice way of saying ain't nobody playing this game on last gen. Let's just move on. That's the one thing I always appreciated about some certain developers. When Bungie when Bungie came out and said we are not supporting last gen anymore, and when they said it, they said ain't nobody playing this game over here no more, and on top of that, we want to cut this part of the game out so we can make the experience better on the next gen systems. They just came out and told you exactly what it is, but they came out and said ain't nobody playing over here no more, at least to the point where it's not worth maintaining the systems and stuff on that platform. So it could be a myriad of different reasons why they're doing it. I think the main reason is it ain't no people playing it over there, and guess what? On next gen, it ain't gonna be people playing it in the next year either.
Because it's gonna be gone.
Game gonna be gone. The game already gone. When last time you turned the game? Did you turn the game on to get this gameplay, SloMo, or did you delete your gameplay from earlier?
Did you not listen to me when I said what I've been playing earlier in the show? Yeah. I told you I started playing this again.
Why?
I just felt like playing it again. I was one of the 8,000 people on Steam that played it today.
One of the 8,000.
8,000, yes, on Steam that played it today.
Wait a minute. Shout out to Oh No, it's Alex doing his video talking about Steam concurrent numbers and how even if everybody turned on every Xbox that was owned on last generation systems, they wouldn't even hit the concurrent number in 24 hours.
Please don't say that name. Please don't say that name.
Wait, okay, yeah. Well, Steve, I just give props to people when they put out certain information. The fact that you said there's 8,000 people playing it when there's over 34 million people daily on Steam is crazy.
Yeah. This game is not long for the world. Yeah, and I think if they are being honest in what they're saying about shifting resources, shifting developers from working on last gen to have them help them create new content for the game, then good. I don't think that is going to save it, because I think generally when people give up on a game, on a live service game, they've given up. Like, it's very difficult to reverse fortunes and to bring people back. I think that, and I made a video on this on my SloMoBackSlap channel where I said, I asked, is the first Descendant too similar to other looter shooters out there on the market? And I think the answer 1000% right now is yes, it is. Because if you wanted to play Warframe, and you wanted to build up, Descendants and put modules on them and min-max them the way you do it in Warframe, then what you would just do? You would just play Warframe.
Yep.
And if you wanted caked up over here, what is going on?
That is why this game survived as long as it did.
Yeah, so people can look
the
at
cake.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
Now not even just Bunny is one of many. But eventually,
hilarious.
You can't have all flash and no substance. Like, the game has to have content that people want to play. Like, there's only so much long that people can stare at some digital butt cheeks, man.
Oh my God!
It's your first time seeing this, Ramon?
Yes, it is.
Oh man, you missed out, man.
Like, there's only so long that you can stare at digital pixel butt cheeks before you just go, this is boring.
Yeah.
And look, I know this is what I think is going to happen. And then Logic, I'm going to ask you what you think about all this. I think Nexon is going to give it one more go. I think they're working on a big content update. It will come out before this summer. And if that doesn't bring a significant bulk of the players back, then they're just going to quit. They're just going to drop the game and move on to the next big titty, big booty game they got in the tuck. Logic, what are your thoughts on it?
Put it to this game and they cutting last generation, whatever.
Yeah, imagine if you like this just real quick. This character I got for free.
Ultimate Bunny.
Now, Ultimate Bunny. Now, that skin where her butt cheeks hanging out, that is the default skin for the character.
The default skin. Oh my God.
Yes. Now,
wow.
Now, check this out. This skin, I got it for free. This is how far the game has fallen. I got that for free. All I had to do was log in once every day for like a week or two. Gave it to me for free.
Damn.
When this skin was first launched in the game, it was $100. Not just the skin, the entire like character, because it's a version 2 of a character. Like Bunny is already a character in the game. You get her for free as soon as you start the game. Ultimate Bunny is like a more efficient version of her that has higher stats and different outfits. And that was $100 that people spent. But that kind of gives you an idea of where their mindset was with monetization and the draw for the game. The draw for the game was thirst and not necessarily a thirst of gameplay, but thirst in general. So, yeah, Logic, what are your thoughts about the first Descendant and them dropping last gen?
Well, I mean, SloMo, I think you're deeper into this game than I've ever been. I never had any major interest in it. I mean, look, I mean, my only feelings on it, given again that I'm not that deep into the game, is I can't have sympathy for people who are still playing on last gen. Like you made a conscious choice to live better where you live, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Shout out to David Forte in the house. He says, do generations matter to a PC gamer though? And he says, related to this game in question. For this game, no. It doesn't, like whether you're playing this on a RX 980 or you're playing it, if that's supported, I don't know if it is or not, or you're playing on a 4090 or 5080 or something, like it doesn't really matter in that sense. But we're really in this discussion really kind of talk about them dropping an entire two platforms within a year, and kind of like if the game's healthy, clearly, I mean, based off of the numbers that I mentioned, it's not healthy. But if a game is healthy, you're not dropping platforms to shift developers to others, departments within the studio to help deliver on content. To completely drop a platform to do that, it just kind of seems like you're in a lot of trouble here, and not necessarily the things that you are quite saying are 100% true on the whys and what's currently happening, even though they've acknowledged that the game's not meeting expectations anymore. So I don't know if that answers your question on that, but yeah. All right, my bad, Logic. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's all I was going to say.
Very cool. Ramon, are you going to play the first Descendant now that you've seen Ultimate Bunny? You going to jump in?
Well, I gotta be truthful. Now that I've seen Ultimate Buddy, I will in fact not be playing the first Descendant. Zero interest. She's nice and all, they got her caked up, but that's not enough to make me interested in the game.
Understood. All right, let's run into this last topic here. This is actually kind of like been a bit of an interesting topic over the past week, because a lot of people have been a lot of people have been discussing a lot of rumors recently, and one rumor that seems to have come up multiple times in the past year or so is about Gears. And even before it was known that Xbox would start putting their games on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, we had been hearing about a Gears of War collection for years, that they would do a remaster or remake of the Gears games and eventually put them out. We already originally assumed it would be just Xbox and PC. Now it seems as if this is going to be something that's coming to everywhere. And so I think this person is a leaker, but I can't quite remember what they've leaked before. But I'm going to butcher this name. It's like Xstasis. It's like a Spanish or content creator. I don't know. Anyway. He says the long-desired Gears of War collection is currently scheduled for this year and will be revealed at the June Xbox showcase coming up in a few months. And the collection will also be on PlayStation 5 day one. Something that has been said by multiple people and something that I can confirm from someone I know who would understand and know these things personally told me that, this will be a campaign only thing. Something that may be a bit different, and this may be something that I don't know for certain, because what I was told wasn't like 100% certainty, that it may not be a Gears collection, but it may just be a remake of the first Gears game. But we'll see how that plays out. But regardless, everyone across the board who has heard these rumors have said that there will be no PvP, there will be no multiplayer available for this remake. It would just be the campaign, and it will have co-op as all the Gears games campaigns have had. But that is the only multiplayer aspect to it that you can expect from this experience. Gears E-Day is scheduled for 2026, which I think we all kind of knew at this point. But I'll start with you, Forte. What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe this Gears collection is coming this year and we're going to see it at the showcase? What are your thoughts about it?
No, I always believe it was coming, especially since Xbox started saying they were going to put their games on other platforms like PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. It only makes sense that this thing is real for the fact that, what you're going to introduce people to Gears of War 5 on PS5. No, you're going to start people from the very beginning. So I can see a Gears of War collection, Market Phoenix collection is what everybody kind of dubs it and everything. Because I do think when Zero Day comes out, that's going to be something that's probably won't be day and date on PS5. But then again, you never know with the way that Microsoft has been moving. It just really seems like they want to, they want to introduce people to those franchises. Like the reason they could put something like Forza or even Outer Worlds and stuff on PlayStation 5 and announce it is because, when it comes to Outer Worlds, the first one was already on PlayStation. So people that wanted to play that already got a chance to play it. And then when it comes to games like Forza, it's a racing game. You don't have to be there for the very first Forza game to know what a racing game is. So I think that this is it would be a good decision for them to come out with this. It would be a good decision for something like this to launch probably on every platform day and date, due to the fact that if you're an Xbox gamer, you already played these games. And if you're a PlayStation gamer, it would give you kind of a inner look into what the next gen Gears of War may look like when it comes to the tech that they're going to put inside of this game, on top of what they're going to do with Zero Day when it comes out.
Okay. What are your thoughts about no multiplayer?
They did multiplayer for Master Chief Collection, so I can see
that also was like a decade ago.
It was a decade ago. Now, the reason I don't think it's a big problem that they're not doing multiplayer on it is because I think the multiplayer portion of the game is going to be probably when Zero Day comes out. So they're going to probably
E-Day.
Yeah, okay, Zero. You know what? Zero Day, the reason I keep saying Zero Day is because I've been watching the show Zero Day on Netflix that just came out. with and it's really, really good. So that's kind of where I'm getting 0 Day from. Yeah, but E-Day. When E-Day comes out, I think the multiplayer component on that is going to be what everybody's going to be looking forward to, because I do think that's going to have multiplayer, and that's going to be something that I think just getting people caught up to the story is what they're really the main thing that they want to do when it comes to this game.
Okay. Logic, what are your thoughts on do you believe the rumors about this collection, and also what do you think about the thought that multiplayer would not be a part of this remake?
Yeah, I mean, the rumor makes sense. I mean, along with all the other things that we've heard, big franchises coming over, no red line. It only makes sense. I mean, it made sense when PlayStation
Cars had red lines.
What's that? Cars
have red lines.
It made sense when PlayStation kind of alluded to it when when they talked about additional content they were going to bring to PC, and what I immediately thought of, what makes absolute sense for them to focus on bringing to PC if they talk expanding their current efforts is their back catalog of stuff that hasn't been on PC yet. So I mean, in similar fashion, this makes sense, right, to get it over to PlayStation. Multiplayer not being there, that seems to be the stock of what the rest of the industry is doing. When Mass Effect, when we got that collection that didn't have
That's
multiplayer,
true.
when I'm pretty sure when
that was a good multiplayer. I spent a lot of money on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when Uncharted has been collected, it dropped its multiplayer. When we got The Last of Us remake, it dropped its multiplayer. The landscape is not the same anymore. It doesn't make sense in my mind. It doesn't make sense financially to put in that effort. It's not just development effort. It's you gotta stand up a whole operations component. There's a bigger maintenance tail associated with it. There's ops time. When the communities just aren't going to be there except for some nostalgic old heads, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Ramon, what do you think?
I believe it, and for all the reasons that you all have already said, it just makes sense. And as someone who has never played Gears before, I'm looking forward to it, especially because it'll, obviously because it'll be on PC because I'm no longer have an Xbox. So I'm excited for it. I 100% believe it. And, as far as being on PlayStation day one, I mean, shout out to David Faulkner in the chat. I mean, he said it. He's like, at this point, it's nonsensical for it to be exclusive to Xbox. And that's not throwing shade at Xbox. It's just numbers. It's just economics. At this point, they're putting their games over there anyway. Why would you stagger something, when with the moves that they're making, it makes less and less sense for them to stagger the releases now. So, you might as well get that, while the zeitgeist is going to be going for it, they might as well just do it day one, And as far as the multiplayer, I'm not a PvP guy, but even if I was, all it would have taken was for me to see the infamous wall bouncing to know that I would not be playing this
wall bouncing. That is the greatest.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way. There is no way I would ever engage and do that to myself. So, but co-op, I might play that. I might jump into co-op with some friends possibly, but. Yeah, there's no I have no feelings towards PvP because I don't play PvP. So, but yeah, I will be there for it though. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. So I do believe this is true, and it's just things that I just know for certain are happening. And now. The whole multiplayer thing, I also think that is true, that it's not going to be there. Now, speaking personally to my experience, I have always enjoyed the Gears campaigns. I've played through them probably a half dozen times with friends, and they've always been, especially the trilogy, have always been an enjoyable experience. So I'm glad to see other gamers who have neglected to buy an Xbox over the years get to experience some of the best, quality campaigns for a high quality IP that they haven't had a chance to play before. That's it. Probably for the best that they don't get a chance to indulge in the multiplayer. Y'all don't want that. It just,
and I believe you 100%.
Gears.
When I saw that wall bouncing, number one, I'm not prone to motion sickness, and that was giving me motion sickness.
Yeah, Gears heads will tear noobs up in that. It's a very unique experience. You don't see a lot of multiplayer games that come out today playing like it. So for a younger demographic that's new to the series, for demographics that come from different platforms and haven't had the opportunity to play it, the learning curve and to get good on that so that you aren't just getting yourself embarrassed, I think it's a bit steep for most people. And I don't think it would have been worth the effort that they would have put in to port that over to PC and over to PlayStation when it would end up just being the the old school gearheads griefing and embarrassing everyone else and being super toxic while doing so, because that's like 1,000% what would have happened. So probably for the best that you don't basically turn people off from an experience that, you know, by the time Gears E-Day comes out, you want people to be familiar enough with the franchise where you're like, yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to this because I played the Gears collection, or maybe just a Gears Ultimate Edition, because they already came out with the Ultimate Edition, but a Gears Ultimate Super Duper, you know, Fantastical Edition or something, I don't know, where it's a remake of the first game. And I think if people play that, I think a lot of people would enjoy it because it is good. You know, and I think it would stand the test of time in regards to being a quality experience, even in 2025 and 2026. That said, yeah, just keep the multiplayer away. Anything else you guys want to say before we get into the outros?
Yeah, I got a question just to ask you guys. So all these cancellations with these games, and then we were talking about like all of these games, you know, being brought back without their multiplayer components. Where do we think the traditional multiplayer is gonna be at in like the next 2 to 3 years? Like by the time we get to PS6 and whatever the next Xbox is, what do you think traditional multiplayer is gonna look like? Or is it gonna just be something that is unrecognizable to what we normally see in the last generation?
I think that there's always going to be a place for traditional multiplayer experiences. I just think that they are going to be not as plentiful as the more newer experiences that we're getting today. And even some of those are going to start to go by the wayside. Like I said earlier, I think extraction shooters aren't long for the industry. They just don't seem to be that popular, and the ones that do have staying power seem to have soaked up all of the demographic in the gaming industry or the gaming community overall that are interested in those kind of titles. And I think that's the kind of thing that ends up becoming more solidified in the future. Like we got Splitgate 2 is coming out this year. Splitgate 2 is a more old school arena shooter with portals. And it, you know, 2-3 years ago, the first one got off of Steam, went everywhere, to consoles, to, you know, to other PC launchers. And they had so many people willing to play it that their contract with Amazon for AWS just didn't support them being able to bring everyone in to play the game. And I think like that kind of showed that there are still interests for some old school kind of products, as long as they provide something that, one, they're high quality and they provide something that's different than what, you know, you get from from some of those older experiences, and they also incorporate things that modern gamers look forward to in modern multiplayer experiences. So I think that you're always going to have a place for that. It's just that, like, even the Warhammer game has a more traditional kind of multiplayer experience. It isn't your typical live service fare. So I think that there is a place for it. It's just not going to ever be as big as it once was. Like us old heads that loved it when all the multiplayer games that came out were variations of the kind of stuff that we look forward to. It's a new day, and what we got back then, and it's just never going to be like that again. We're no longer the target demographic for these kind of things. It's the kids, where they have their own financial income to buy microtransactions, or they're going to mommy and daddy to get it done. They're the ones that are driving the revenue when it comes to multiplayer, which is the reason why there's so many publishers that are pigeonholing themselves into those kind of experiences instead of thinking in a broader scale of, like, do I really have the opportunity to dethrone Fortnite?
Right.
No, like, more than likely no, unless Epic starts making some epic mistakes, and then you get the opportunity to do so. It just there's like seems to be 4 to 5 failures before we get a Marvel Rivals, which still technically isn't quite a success yet because not having the longevity yet, but it's on its way to getting there. And so I just think that we'll always have some of those traditional experiences, but they're just going to be fewer and far in between.
Cool. Anybody else?
I don't have a dog in the multiplayer fight, but just a quick comment. Slightly circling to the Gears of War thing, there's another game that shares the same acronym as Gears of War, and I am praying that entire saga, Greek saga, is also getting, at the very least, a remaster treatment.
Yeah, I can see that, though. I actually heard something similar that might be coming soon.
Man, I hope so, because the anniversary is coming up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope so. And I hope it's all of them, too, not just 3.
Logic, any thoughts on this?
I think you said a lot of some of the same things that I would have said. I mean, I just think, like you said, there'll be a place for it, but I think the one thing is, like, we're going to see less of the pack-in. I'm a single player game and I'm going to have a multiplayer component, because I think, I mean, if you're going to do multiplayer today, it has to be monetized, and you can't monetize it if you. I mean, maybe you could have maybe you could pull a Call of Duty and have like a short single player campaign, but like then you're really making a multiplayer game, right? With a single player in there as an appetizer, not the other way around like it used to be, like in the earlier 2000s. Right. But it's but like we've been saying tonight, it's a dog eat dog world out there. Like I can't imagine today who would greenlight and field a primarily like arena multiplayer game. Like, I mean, I think the people who want to play Call of Duty. Well,
I mean, that is what Splitgate 2 is. But this is like, if you look at the story of Splitgate, it's very much a very unconventional kind of experience. And if it was a more traditional path of getting your game out the door and into people's hands, it likely would not have happened. 1047 Games, which makes Splitgate, like, that studio where originally was just like some college students that made Splitgate as like I think they were in school for video game design, and they made it as like a project. Yeah, for school. And so, but people found it so fun, they were like, you should make this a full game. Like, that's a very unique kind of experience, but it kind of proved you can still do this today, and there's still an audience for it. Warhammer did have multiplayer as kind of like a pack-in to the single player experience, but I can't remember the last game that did that before Warhammer did. It's been a while. It's been a long time since we saw something like that.
Ghost
so
of Tsushima,
it's
I think was the only other.
But even then, that's not quite yet. Yes and no, because Ghost of Tsushima, launched without the multiplayer, and then they didn't even tell people that it was coming.
It was a surprise,
and then out of nowhere, they were just like, "Surprise! Here's Ghost Legends," which was actually really good, actually. And I had my back still hurt some carrying Enrique in it, of course. But it was really good. But I think the reason why it was so well done is that, like, unlike in the past when you had two different teams working on this concurrently, and we kind of see Halo struggle with that with the more recent Halo games. But what Sucker Punch did was they focused on the campaign first, the story first, and then once that was done, they put a skeleton crew on bug fixing, and then they worked on Legends. And so they divvied up their resources in a way that allowed them to give two really high quality experiences that were well thought out, but they didn't come all at the same time. So,
how new is this gameplay?
Yeah.
How new is this gameplay? Did you install Gears of War?
How old?
How old is this gameplay?
Oh, it's pretty old, bro. I had to go into the archives for this one.
So you like high end with God of War, when you see God of War footage, she's like, man, that's some old footage.
yeah. I was like,
this game.
It looked good.
Oh yeah. Oh look. The Coalition is money when it comes to visuals. You're not gonna find them making no ugly games, and they will definitely hold up. Like, this is.
Yeah.
I think this is Gears. This is definitely Gears 5 because it's PC gameplay. Yeah, and that's the only thing that's on PC is Gears 5. But yeah, that was like 2019. This was I recorded this like maybe, I think I reinstalled the game and recorded this maybe sometime in like 2021. So, but regardless, it's like, this is when it launched on PC. This is like 6 years later. It still looks great. So, all right, let's do this. Outro time. It is almost midnight. We're gonna get up out of here. Game Logic, let everyone know where they can find you, sir, and what you got going on for the rest of for the next week.
Yeah, you can find me over as a regular on the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the E2KG Network podcasting channel. That's the 2 in that is the number 2. And then you can catch me as a co-host on the Basement Radio Arcade podcast Friday nights at usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as well. Over the next week, I'll be doing BRAP tomorrow night. The Doomsayers podcast, which is a show that I do with Falky, will be spooling back up. I think we're doing another the first episode of the reboot tomorrow, and
nice.
then I'll be on E2KG, and also trying to get back into posting game video and clips and eventually Let's Plays and live streams. So I've got some gameplay up of Sniper Elite Resistance. And a couple long plays of Avowed over on the Rounding Off Infinity channel on YouTube.
Cool. Ramon Terrell, our resident actor extraordinaire, 2023's Lifetime Actor of the Year. 2022's Hallmark Channel Actor of the Year, 2021 CW Rising Star of the Year. All these are real. Let everyone know where they can find you, sir.
Well, apparently, according to you, they'll find me on the red carpet. But, yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky under my name. I think it's like Ramon_Terrell or just Ramon Terrell, one of those two. And if you like reading epic fantasy humor, or urban fantasy, you can just either Google my name, Ramon Terrell, or you can go on your favorite bookstore's website and you can find my books if you like to read. And other than that, yeah, I'm on Blue Sky. I have Facebook, but I'm almost never there. So yeah, and that's me. And then on Steam, No, I'm not on my name on Steam. So anyway, yeah, you guys have a good night.
It's one of his characters' names in one of his books.
Let me stick my toe in the door here for Ramon. You can also find Ramon on IMDb, on the Arrowverse, on Goodreads, over on Amazon.com. And Ramon, I gotta ask you, because I was in a weird window in my TV watching, and I started watching this one show on
same thing. Like,
no, this is
everyone does this. Everyone does this. Wait a minute, this guy looks familiar.
I did not know you were on School Spirits.
Yo, that was the one.
Crazy.
That's the one. That's the one I said. Like I was laying in bed. My wife was watching it. I had my eyes closed, and so I'm just like, I hear it, and I hear Ramon's voice, and I'm like, what? What was? Nah, that ain't Ramon. And I hear him yelling at some kid or something. He's like fussing some kid out, and then I open my eyes and I look, and I said, Toy, I know that guy. And she's like, no, you don't. No, I know that guy. That's my actor friend. I told you about him. She was just like, he's in this show? I'm like, I don't know. Like he's in everything. He literally is in everything. Check out his IMDb. He's in everything.
He likes Sam out here, man. Sam, and everything.
Oh, man, that is too funny.
I told you when I was watching. I forget what I was
and
watching.
I told him. I say, I saw you in this TV show. You know how big time this dude is?
Oh my god!
What show? What show was that? Huh? I did that. That was me. Are you sure? I don't know. I did a lot of work last year, so
you never heard me say that.
No, oh my, Forte, he was on this show and he said that. He was like, I don't remember doing it. Well, maybe I did it. So I'm right about you not remember doing it, but I did a lot. You literally said I did a lot of work last year. I don't quite remember this one, but yeah, if you said you saw me, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm like this guy. This guy, let me be in one TV show as a goon number 3 in the back who just scowling. I don't even get no lines. I'm telling you, the entire clip of me in the TV show, I'm putting it on Twitter. And Blue Sky, I'm putting it on everything. That's me back there. You see that? I'm making it big, baby. This guy gets up in everything. He don't even remember it happened. I don't know.
Man, all I know is I was watching Riverdale and I saw him. I was like, oh Lord.
You in Riverdale too?
I saw Riverdale.
What CW show haven't you been in? You've been in Arrow. You've been in iZombie.
I didn't get.
You've been in Riverdale.
There's for some reason I never got an audition for the Flash. I don't know if it was because I was on Arrow or what, but because they crossed over.
Right. They were just like, wait a minute.
Well, now usually
how are you a supervillain in the Flash, but you were a mercenary in Flash or something? It was just like, wait a minute, hold on. Can't do that.
Usually it has to be a few seasons, which it was. So, but some shows they just don't see you. I don't know why. But yeah, that was one that I never got to do.
Well, yeah, y'all check out Ramon's books and his work. He does good stuff. He is well rounded, and he also is somewhat decent at PC stuff too. So shout out to him. Appreciate you for coming through. Forte, what are you doing for the rest of the week?
For the rest of the week, well, I got it.
Outside of also, you haven't dropped a video.
That's what I was literally about to say. I have to get my video for this week because I've been working this whole week. So over the next 1 or 2 days, I'm going to get one out this week. But outside of that, I'm going down the Hallmark channel or the CW, and I'm going to look, I'm gonna go. You know, I'm gonna go down Ramon's his IMDb and then go searching for the wall though. That's what I'm gonna go do. Yeah. Like, where's what episode is he in? And I'm gonna find
have you been on SVU? Law and Order SVU?
Man, I wish.
Because everybody's been on SVU. I've been on SVU. I mean, like, I haven't, but I'm just saying, like, it seems like everyone has been on there at least one time.
Those people that walk around in the background.
That's the dream. SVU is the dream, man. I would love to. I would love to have that one, but no, I haven't landed on SUV or SVU.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I'm just,
yeah.
I just love watching. It's like his roles are so broad. He's like a cop in one episode. He's beating up, yelling at kids in another episode. He's arresting people in Seattle police uniform. It's so great. No, listen, I am proud to call you. Like, listen, you are a celebrity to us. So just know that, and we.
Oh man, the feeling is mutual. Like you don't know how excited I get when I get to come on and hang out with you.
No, let me tell you. And this is no BS. Let me tell you this. I have a doppelganger that works at another store. Like he works at GameStop too. He works at a different store. So every time people come to our two stores, I'll get people say, "Hey man, I thought you were at the other store." I said, "No, that's my doppelganger. He works at the one like 20 minutes away from me." Because we used to like work right down the street from each other before I moved and bought my house out this way. So it was real easy to like mix us up.
You should really play around with people and say stuff like that's actually my clone. You know, I actually have a clone out there that you know, I call him Shannon number 2.
No,
and he's
it paid me a lot of money.
But the crazy thing is, so he always rides to the, like I had the inventory yesterday, and he always rides to the inventories with me when he's on them. So I was telling him, I was like, bro, I had like 3 people this week coming to my store asking like, dog, I thought you were at the store. And he went down and he said, man, let me tell you, bro, I had 2 people came in the store together and they said, yo, Gaming Forte, DPS and Iron Lords podcast, and he watches the show, so he knows about us and everything when it comes to like
but he couldn't tell that was but they couldn't tell that wasn't you. That's wild.
No, it's
that's crazy,
wild, bro. It's wild, and I'm always on camera too most of the time. And he was like, "Yo, you be on DPS, and you do DPS podcast with SloMo, and you be on Iron Lords podcast." And he was like, Yeah. He was playing along. He was like, they were talking about, he said, yeah, man, I'm glad that you got away from Destiny and everything. And he was like, yeah, man, I kind of had to get away from that game. It's kind of getting tired and all this other stuff. No, he said these dudes was having like a straight up fan moment. I was like, are you serious? He's like, yo, bro, people think
I know you was mad. They were just like, that was supposed to be for me.
But I ain't gonna lie, though, there are so many people that I run to. Like, you know, shout out to OBM and, you know, Dirt and everybody that live here. But there are so many people here that look at us and I'm like, they like, y'all guys are celebrities. And I'm like, no, what the heck you talking about, bro? But it's cool, man. So like I said, Ramon, we respect everything. And I'm definitely going to go on the Waldo trip and find every episode. You know what? That would be something I'll do. I'll probably post it on DPS channel. I'm going to literally make a short of every show he was in and play it. It is going to be a
do that. Yeah,
on the video.
Yes. We're gonna call it the Ramon Terrell highlight reel. The highlight. Yep. No, Ramon. What do they call it when you got like your it's like your digital your resume. You just
demo reel. Yeah.
Yeah,
make one for
that's what we call it. Ramon Terrell demo reel, and just everything that he's in.
Yeah, matter of fact, IMDb it says what episodes he was in, certain things. So yeah, we gonna go find these.
Oh man!
Even if we gotta, even if I gotta pay for some of the episodes, because you know all these episodes probably ain't free.
Exactly. You know, like it's hard to get you know footage of Trevor Birdsong in that Hallmark movie. but we gonna get it. We gonna get it. All right. Let's get up out of here. Appreciate everybody for rocking out with us. We appreciate the 23 people who still sat around and listened to us ramble for this past 15 minutes. You guys are awesome. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend. Play some games. Stop playing Twitter. Stop console warring for no daggone reason. And touch grass. And we love you guys. Peace.
Touch grass.
Later on, folks.